Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports.
When it comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players. And we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful, 12th man. They've won us games.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Obi, are you familiar with the great O'Shea Jackson?
I heard the name.
Ice Cube.
Oh, okay, that's where I've heard it. I heard it on this show.
He had a song called "Today Was a Good Day."
Yeah.
Right. And I think we need to hear that coming back. It's more about yesterday was a good day, and I hope today is going to be a great day. But
yesterday was
a really good day. You know, like you had your introductory press conference with Michael Earley, right? Which was good. We had some zingers in there. It was great, right? 2 football commits.
2 of them.
Right?
Yeah.
You had 2 stars announced that they're coming back to play at Texas A&M, Jace Lovelock and Gavin Grahovic.
Right.
You also added a new guy from Texas Tech who looks like Peter Parker. Not Toby McGuire, the other one. Tom Holland.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah. So you got the kid from
Texas Tech. I saw he hits with power and average.
Gavin Cash, is that?
Gavin Cash.
What a name, bro.
Yeah.
What a name. Spelled it with a K, too. Look at that. Looks just like Tom Holland.
Okay.
David, that's Cade Bickham. That's not Tom Holland. That's Cade Bickham.
You're right.
Cade Bickham has committed to Texas A&M baseball.
If Cade Bickham and Tom Holland had a kid, Gavin Cash.
Huh.
It got weird. It got really weird.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner.
If they have a kid, every biology class I ever took was complete BS.
Test 2, baby. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. David Nuño, Olin Buchanan, Wednesday, July 3rd, 2024. Buddy, back to the point. What a great day.
It was a great day. Yeah. I mean, the good news just kept coming.
Yes.
I mean, it was like, and here's another gift.
Oprah.
I said the good news kept coming. It was like, your birthday or something, and you just kept having things showered upon you. You said, "Oh, thanks, thank you, thank you."
Thank you.
Yeah,
it was great. It was so great day. We'll kind of celebrate that, talk about it, and I know we have a lot of listeners and viewers recently that aren't Texas A&M fans. That's okay. You can celebrate with us too.
Yeah, sure.
I don't care if you wear a T-shirt from another school and you went to a community. I don't care. We're all together. We're all family today. Not really, but I don't want any fighting on the show today. Somebody did tweet at me that they like Angry Nuño on the air.
Angry Nuño's good.
It depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation, yeah, but typically.
Sometimes you're like, relax, bro. It ain't that big of a deal. But I'm in a good mood this morning because we got a lot to get into. So I had already heard Coach Earley. I've spoken of Coach Earley. I had heard him with Billy and Bronny. It was nice to hear him on the podium and say the things that I wanted to hear. He talked to the players directly. He talked to the fans directly. He laid out his vision. I thought he did great.
I thought he was himself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say that. What I think him to be himself, because I've never been around him, and as many times as I raised my hand, I still couldn't get called on to ask a question yesterday.
You got a question in, I thought.
Not too early.
Oh, no?
No. But anyway.
You weren't early to the presser?
I was early, but anyway, I guess. But I digress. He seems like a genuine guy.
Yes.
People, I'll put it this way. Everything I heard about him seemed to be accurate in the press conferences, just the way he conducted himself.
Sure.
He was pretty funny in the introductory thing, talking about Hayden Schott, couldn't be there because he had to play golf. He'd already paid for the round. That was funny, and he seemed humble, and he seemed so, as I guess anybody in that situation was just so appreciative for the opportunity and what the guys acknowledged that so many guys stepped up for him, but then came right back to, but I can do this, and I appreciate that they opened the door. But I closed the deal.
Yep.
So you saw the confidence in him that he has in himself as well.
Yeah. How about General Welsh?
He was
Did he steal the show in a way?
Again? It was so under the radar and kind of subtle, but I don't know if you know this, but I personally like to make or backhanded compliments, or say things that are kind of inside jokes and things, and I think I think Welsh proved that he's a master at it yesterday.
He was fantastic. And by the way, every time I hear him speak, when you go to these events, a lot of times I'm just ready to hear Early. I'm just ready to hear Elko.
Right.
The other stuff, I enjoy listening to him. More, yes. And we're gonna actually hear a 2-minute chunk, which is a long chunk, because I think it shows everything that you just said, OB. It shows what his commitment to Texas A&M is, his vision, what he thinks Early is going to be, and also one of those comments that can be taken multiple ways. You ready to hear it?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Here's yesterday with President Welsh.
I want to tell you why I like him. I don't know him very well, but I had a chance to meet with him Sunday morning. Lisa, I'm sorry that left you with the kids again on your own. Just 3 things. First, he's confident. A little bit cocky, but that's kind of necessary. There's no fear. There's no apologies. There's no excuses. If Michael was an MMA fighter, I can guarantee you he would never tap out. Confident people tend to be competitive, and he most certainly is. And competitive people like to win, as Trev said. And I think he likes to win more than most. So do I. So does Trev. So do Aggies. Second, he's organized. He's detail-oriented. He's structured in his thinking. He's very comprehensive in his approach, and he's very clear in his focus. Organized people tend to like developing both individuals and teams, and baseball requires both. Coaching is all about making players better, and it doesn't surprise me a bit to know that that is his reputation. Since the day he came into this business, he's been making players better. It's why his players love him, and it's why Aggie fans will love him for the next 25 years or so. He's coming for you, Coach. He's coming. Last, and maybe most importantly, when you combine it with those other things, he loves his family. It took Michael about 30 seconds into our first meeting to mention Lisa and the kids. But he also understands that Aggies love this family. And people who love their families tend to be loyal. And so do Aggies. Just to be clear here, today, tomorrow, the future of Aggie baseball, none of it is about someone who left. It's about someone who fought to stay.
If you're loyal, people that love their family are loyal. A couple subtle, not too subtle jabs, or at least what I interpreted to be not too subtle jabs at he who shall not be named.
This is going to sound like a shot at the former coach. This is not a shot, but one guy left his family to come here to leave again. This guy couldn't stop talking about his family and including them in this Aggie family. And hopefully that's a sign of things to come.
Yeah, you know what? The only thing I disagree with all that is I still don't think that the first guy left his, quote, family to come. I mean, he was in a divorce and his kids were grown to my knowledge. So, I mean, it's kind of a little bit different than but I think
he established a life there.
It was
but that's the coaching profession.
It was his way of trying to, I don't know, show what a great sacrifice he made by coming here. But we shall not no longer.
No, we're moving on.
We're going to move on.
We'll turn the page, and then we'll turn the page back every once in a while, but we'll turn the page. But I saw this. I forget who tweeted it, or maybe it was on a website that I was reading, that there's already a lot of interest in the A&M Texas football game.
Yeah.
That baseball series might be catching up.
Yeah, I wish it was here this year or next season, but okay.
All right, we'll go there.
Spanked them over there this year.
Mm-hmm. Look, they're going to have a good team. They had a good team this year, right? They're going to have a good team. They're going to have a really good coach.
Yeah, they probably won't lose to Rio Grande Valley this year.
Probably not. But I think A&M's going to have a great team. I think A&M's going to be knocking on the door again of the College World Series. There's still some questions to be figured out, like if Jackson Appel does go pro, who's going to be the catcher? It looks like Ali Camarillo is probably going to go pro, but we don't know. I talked to Ryan Prager yesterday. We're waiting on him as well. So, like, there's guys that we have to wait on, but and they should do whatever's best for their future.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love it to be here, but if it makes sense to go pro because we'll be watching you pro as well.
Yeah. Really, typically it's about where you're going to get drafted, right?
Yep.
Because I wonder if you can make enough money in NIL to where it's a wash, depending on where you get drafted.
Potentially. And
if it is, why would you go into, riding Busta games and all the things that you have to do
in the
minors? And
I think for some folks, what you don't want to happen is you get injured and you don't play.
Well,
and then,
that, yeah.
like, Targo could have gone pro a couple different times. We had him, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. And, things didn't work out the way he wanted to, but it worked out great for him because he wanted to be an Aggie. That was more important for him to graduate from this great university. But for some folks, like, if you're knocking on the door of a top pick or somewhere in the first few rounds, that's hard to say.
That is completely different because it's the kind of money you can get as a pretty high draft choice.
Like Chris Cortez has been skyrocketing draft boards.
Right. So if he, quite frankly, if he had a chance to, I'm going to throw out $1 million bonus. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I think he'd be crazy not to take it.
OB, they offer you $1 million to go back to Austin.
Okay, what do I got to do over there?
You got to write for Jerry Hamilton's site.
Which site would that be?
$1 million? I don't know, buddy. Hey, buddy. How are you? All right, let's move on. Let's move on. This is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Let's go around the room and say hi to the people. I think Nick Savage is behind the glass, but I might be wrong. Nick, are you there?
You'd be correct.
Hey, buddy.
I've already spoken today, David. Do you not remember me talking to y'all?
Did he talk?
You forget about me that quickly?
What did he say?
Who is this?
This is Nick.
Okay.
Sam Kamen? Dalton Hughes?
Well, Sam Kamen, now you're starting to sound like OB.
Happy
David.
birthday, Sam Kamen.
OB mixed me up with Sam about 5 times before he realized, oh, wait, that's Nick. But it's okay. Sam's awesome. So I take that as a compliment. He's doing what I wish I could be, I would be doing is calling games for a college. That's big time.
Nick, I really like that hat.
Thank you.
I really like it.
Yeah, I got it. I got such a tight relationship with Brian Cortani. He's like, hey, Nick, here's a cool hat for you. I didn't have to ask anyone for it or anything.
If you knocked on his door, would he know, hey, you're Nick Savage?
No.
Okay.
I don't think anybody in this town would.
People love you, Nick.
No one knows me,
I
David.
saw people yesterday at the presser. There's Nick Savage. I saw it.
Yeah. Okay,
I promise.
buddy.
I did.
Sure.
What's on your mind this morning?
Just recruiting on both sides, right? A&M baseball getting a big commit from, Cash from Tech. I guess
that's a great name, right?
Yeah. Gavin Cash. Are you kidding me? If only it was a C, that'd be sick. But maybe it's even cooler with a K. I don't know. Only he was a pitcher. And then on the football side of things, 2 big commits, especially Marco Jones from California. I think that makes it 4 commits out of California now for Coach Elko and the staff. And, I mean, the way things are going, I wonder if they're done just yet with, football recruiting and maybe even baseball recruiting. Who knows? Could be another fun day today.
Let's hope so. Then we can play that Ice Cube song again and again.
I think everyone should know Nick Savage. I think people should aspire to know Nick Savage because Nick Savage knows Sam Kamen. He can tell you how to get in touch with Sam if you need something.
It is Sam's birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Sam.
Happy birthday, Sam. We miss you, buddy. We like Nick, by the way, but we do miss Sam. He's good people.
Yeah, good people.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. That's where we find Callie Gardner. Callie, good morning.
Good morning. Nick, if it makes you feel any better, my mom and my grandma know who you are, so...
That's all that really matters to me, to be completely honest. So
do they know OB?
Day has been made.
They know all you guys, but they love Nick. My mom loves Nick.
Hey, can you do me a favor and give a birthday shout out? We've become 97.9 The Box. We're going to give shout outs here. Somebody's texted in about their birthday.
Oh, yeah. Jason from Fred. Happy 47th birthday.
Man, you're old, bro.
Jason from Fred?
Yeah.
Oh, Fred is saying happy birthday to Jason.
No, I think Fred's
he's
the
from
city.
Fred, Texas.
Like Fredericksburg? Or
Probably Fredericksburg,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I
Nice
was
town. You ever been to Fredericksburg?
Of course.
Fredericksburg's amazing.
Wineries? Right? Don't they have wineries?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like Texas Napa.
That is right. I went with my mom, dad, brother, his family, my family a couple years back. It's great.
Went to Lukenbach.
Lukenbach. Can we hear that later?
Yeah, well, we should hear it every day. Well, Waylon and Willie and the boys.
Continue on, please, Callie.
Yeah, so we kind of touched on it earlier, but as we know, Aggie Baseball welcomed Mike Earley as their head coach yesterday, and he named a few of his staff members, Caleb Longley from Texas, Jason Kelly from Washington, and is retaining Will Fox and Jason Hutchins, and the do-it-all athletic trainer, Kaylee Swain, which she's kind of gotten a little bit of spotlight, but
she's been famous,
yeah, everything I've seen of her, she's super amazing, so we're glad to still have her on our staff.
She can relace your glove if it comes undone.
You can do it all.
The pitch comm. She was doing it all in the dugout this year.
When they were explaining, I don't know if it was tape. I forget how. I've got such a bad memory, but the way they were taping up basically Jason's leg after the hamstring strain, and how they were, it was up through his back. It was just like, it's not technology, but like, I guess the advancements of those kind of injuries is pretty incredible.
Yeah, the way they treat them.
Yeah.
There you go, treatment. Callie.
And we talked about Gavin Cash. He hit 300 this past season at Tech and has 41 career home runs and 135 RBIs and was listed as the number 3 player in the portal until Lavalette and Grahovec pulled their names out, and then he moved up to the number 1 overall player. So Michael Earley was making moves very fast and wasted no time getting that commit from him. And then we have Marco Jones and Chase Sims. And as Nick mentioned, we have currently 4 of the top 11 rated prospects from California. So Elko is just making big moves on the recruiting front. And our men's golf team, it was announced yesterday that they will open their 24-25 campaign at one of the most prestigious season opening tournaments with an invitation to the Sahali Players Championship slated for September 7th and 8th.
We've had coaches before that have gone out to California a lot, but
this
sounds
is different.
Like Elko actually goes to the schools instead of some of the party areas.
Well, it's like the Cowboys who practice in Stockton, right? Like they've got this headquarters, they've developed this base. I feel like we could have a Texas A&M West Campus, another West Campus.
They're doing some great work out there.
By the way, the number 1 transfer portal acquisition, and number 2, and number 3. 2 of them were already ours, but I'm going to take credit for keeping them. And then you get the other number 1.
Well, they were in the transfer portal.
Yep. Retain and add.
I'm loving it. I don't want to say I'm really looking forward to baseball season next year
but you're looking forward to it
because I got to look forward to football and then basketball and then baseball.
Boy, and your favorite time of year, writing 29 articles a day at SEC Media Days.
Except for that, I'm even looking forward to equestrian.
Now look. You do work harder than all of us that week.
But
we're all working 12-hour days, and they're fun. And then we get to go to a good dinner at least once.
Yes, some of us do.
Oh, yeah, you weren't invited. Sorry. Not to bring that up. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with more. Thank you, Callie. Right now, if your business or organization is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then you need to check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during these awesome events throughout the year. You got marquee events like Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of attendees. All events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. Options include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence and activation, recognition and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with other Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. That is sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Sing it, OB.
Let's go to Lukenbach, Texas.
Just waking up this morning.
I was waiting for Lukenbach.
Gotta thank God.
I thank God every morning when I wake up.
No barking from the dogs.
Especially at this age. Hey, it's a good day. I got up.
Hey, the name of the show.
What, you mean?
The show, not the presentation, the show.
Like the Go Hour, TexAgs Radio?
TexAgs Radio,
okay.
That's presented by somebody.
David Gardner Jewelers.
And we're
Gym
where?
Up guy. We're in the Rollo Insurance studio, another Gym Up a guy.
Right. I'm actually having lunch today with Jackson and Keith from Rollo Insurance Studio.
Yeah, good folks.
We're going to Varsity Grill House. How about that?
Nice.
Yeah.
It's the old Lanier Smith over there.
I'm going to go see the crew. Yep. And Brett's going to be there. Who else did I? This hour has got a name.
The Go Hour.
Thank you. I forgot. And that's presented by somebody, too.
CC Creations.
Yesterday, I gave a shout-out for Jose Canseco's birthday.
Yeah.
I was made aware by my friend Philip it's also another one of my idols' birthdays.
Yeah, Ozzy's.
Well, Ozzy's not him. Larry David.
Larry David's one of your idols.
That's my guy. I'm a big Larry David guy. Pretty good. I didn't get into character there. And I was just told by Trey and Shiner, today is your favorite actor's birthday, Tom Cruise.
He's not my favorite, but I hope he has a happy birthday.
You know, other than kind of getting weird with the Scientology stuff.
That's kind of big.
Yeah, it's very big. But, like...
Did you ever see the South Park episode that made him so mad?
I heard about it. I don't remember.
They were making fun of his Scientology, so he got upset, and he ran into the closet, and they said, come on, it's okay, Tom, come out the closet.
He makes great... Well, I'm not a big Mission Impossible guy.
Okay, but it's a nice action flick.
Sure,
okay.
I just can't get it.
Okay, what's your favorite Tom Cruise movie?
Top Gun.
Okay.
Risky Business. Maverick. What else? Give me some other options. I'm trying to think.
The Color of Money.
Cocktail.
That
was good.
Jerry Maguire.
Jerry Maguire's great, yeah. I mean, it's too lovey-dovey.
Yeah.
But I liked it at the time.
You complete me.
Oh, God. Punched me in the face.
Rain Man, right?
Rain Man was excellent, but it was because
that's
a Dustin Hoffman movie.
I couldn't get into Rain Man.
Dustin Hoffman owned that movie.
The race car movie, that was good.
Days of Thunder.
That's where Nicole Kidman became a thing, right?
Yeah.
What else? I know he's been in hundreds. I just can't think of something.
A lot of them suck.
The Reacher movie was horrendous.
Yeah, a lot of his movies are terrible.
The Reacher TV show, not bad.
No, it's true.
Not bad. Anyway, can we get to
sports? Happy birthday, Tom.
Tom. Happy birthday.
I'm sure he's listening.
He's a big fan of the Go Hour.
Yeah.
Who would win in a fight, you or Tom?
Probably Tom.
You think?
But I think I would have the reach on him.
He's not very tall.
Isn't he kind of a Smurf?
I think he's like 5'7".
Yes, I
made that up, I think.
So I definitely have the
He's
reach.
not very tall. Are you familiar with a quarterback at Notre Dame by the name of Riley Leonard?
Yeah.
So he says, and I got this from On3, that he's been watching Jaden Daniels' film all day. I think the proof is in the pudding with Jaden Daniels. Obviously, he's probably a little bit faster than me. Probably a lot bit faster than me, haha. But I can still make those reads, make those throws. He was making the checks as well. So I think for Denbrook, I'm just watching Jaden Daniels' film all day. It is what I do.
So he's going to be Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm. Well, Jaden Daniels, I think, was much more of a threat running than I remember Riley Leonard. But he can't. Riley Leonard can't make the throws.
Oh, yeah. I saw him play for Duke some last year before he got hurt. And they may beat Notre Dame had he not gotten hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback.
He's a good quarterback. But there's two things here at play. I think Mike Denbrook is obviously a very gifted offensive coordinator, one that A&M really was interested in at one point. But Mike Elko knows Riley Leonard's game very well. So if he there's going to be some new wrinkles that he's going to add, obviously, coming back from injury, but a new system, a new environment. But if anybody knows how to get after him, it's going to be Coach Elko.
Well, what I think is going to be we're 59 days out, but what I think is going to be such a key in that one is A&M going to be able to exploit what should be a significant advantage with their pass rush against Notre Dame's pass protection.
So what takes longer to learn? A new offense, which I think the offense, or a new system for the defensive line?
I think a new offense.
And we've already been told by insiders at Notre Dame that their offensive line didn't look fantastic in the spring.
Oh, they're really concerned, but they don't have any tackles.
Right.
They're taking like fifth-year guards that have never played and putting them at tackle. Their receivers is a problem too. You know, they've been rating the lacrosse team to get receivers, and that's not a joke.
With a former quarterback.
But he's the second lacrosse player that's moved on.
Oh,
now the guy they had last year went from lacrosse. He was reasonably productive.
Right.
They got the great house kid from Austin Westlake, and then after that, they're like, okay, we got to get creative.
But people say they're a playoff team this year.
Well, their defense should be excellent, especially the secondary. Their defensive line is going to be very, very good in their secondary. Some might say their secondary is the best in the country.
Well,
so Riley Leonard probably doesn't have to lead his team to 30 points a game to win.
By the way, this came up on the chat, and it's completely off topic, but Sandman, the Texas fan who watches our show often, very nice, he thinks that Texas Tech and A&M are the second biggest rivalry in Texas. And I'm like, I think there was a rivalry when Coach Leach was there because of how successful he was. And
Rusty Burson famously referred to them as their fans as classless clowns. And I think a lot of that even goes before Leach got there.
Yeah.
I could see that. But see, what about A&M or Texas for that matter and Baylor? Here's the thing about Aggies. The Aggies, I love you. I wish I'd gone to school. I wish I could say I am a full-fledged Aggie. I'm wearing an Aggie shirt right now.
Your T-shirt Aggie, it's fine.
Aggies hate everybody.
Everybody hates everybody.
Yeah, but Aggies hate everybody.
Everybody hates everybody.
They call TCU Purple Baylor, which, by the way, I wish I was the guy that came up with that. They have their creative name for Tech fans. The Tech, what they call. I'll say, what do I care? Tech-tards, they call them.
Oh, yeah.
Always going after Baylor. I'm sure they have, everybody has that same cheer for Rice, but Aggies hate everybody.
Buddy, everybody. I'm telling you, when I was in Miami listening to sports radio there, they hate everybody too. And when I'm in Atlanta and, Georgia doesn't have to hate everybody right now because they're the champs or they're kind of champs or a year removed. But
Aggies hate everybody in Texas, I should say, and LSU and probably
Do you
Oklahoma.
think Texas hates everybody?
I don't, you know why? I don't know. I think Texas just thinks they're better than everybody. If that's a difference. Texas thinks everyone's beneath them. Because I decided to. You can go to school as journalism, which is now a failing occupation, but you can go to school and eke by and get a journalism degree at Texas, and you think that you are that you are just a better person, that you're more educated than someone that went anywhere else and got a finished at the top of their class and got a law degree. Texas just thinks they're better than people.
I'm going to read this out loud because we have to hit a break. We're doing the old switcheroo. Jason Howell is actually going to join us in the 8 o'clock hour because Billy's coming in at 10.
He went to Baylor.
That's right, and he covered them for a long time. But Texas...
so he ate Howell.
Texas 10K runner. David, what are your thoughts on Eminem mentioning Johnny Manziel in his new song? I haven't heard that.
No, I haven't either.
I hope it's complimentary.
I bet it is.
I love it.
You know what? I'll never hear it either. Unless
what are you talking about? We may hear it later on the show.
By the way, I do love. I know. You know how we talked about Tom Cruise. You know how he said he didn't say it, but the chick in the movie goes, "You had me at hello." Well, I think Welsh had you at MMA fighter.
Oh, I love that.
Tap out. I said, man, I know
the comparisons with. I want to make sure I'm with Earley and myself.
Yeah.
Right. Like some people say I'm the ugly version of him, which I thought that was kind of funny. He would kick my butt in 12 seconds. No, not even 4 seconds. He is jacked and he is very disciplined, and I'm sure he can do some MMA.
Okay. No, I think you take him, David.
No, I don't want you to respond. I'm still trying to get you to get your first question in with him. Let's hit a break. Jason. Well, you got to know the PR people, OB. You got to know them.
They got to know me.
Oh, man.
Dude, sound like I'm from Texas. I don't have to know them. They got to know me.
When we come back.
I lived in Austin for 12 years.
Is this going to be your first ever recruiting country?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, good. Recruiting Country with Jason Howell. Right now, we're talking Heritage Films. The website is yourheritagefilm.com. They make documentary films about your families. If your dad's got a cool story, I'm sure he does because everybody's got a cool story. Why don't you tell it and have it done video form? If your uncle, your family business, your family ranch, or you all do some great family get-togethers, let Chance McClain and his team be an eye in the sky of a cool event and tell that story where you can preserve it and keep it forever, right? And generation after generation pass that story down. You can also do a Yearflix with it, which is a 20-minute option, a Q&A, more reserved for the youngers, right? So like my daughter Annalise, who's now 13, she did it when she was 12. 20-minute green screen in the background, some cool questions and answers, and just kind of learning where she's at. We'll follow it up in a couple years when she gets to high school, do a benchmark video, find out where she is then. Then when, of course, she gets to Texas A&M and is hopefully playing soccer there. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341 is Heritage Films.
G.
I didn't know this. Whoa. Did he say a bad word? I didn't hear.
He said a word that I think is bad, but it's curiously has been more acceptable and said on TV and things like that. So, yeah.
I didn't realize this was on your playlist, Obi. That's great. I appreciate you being a big Eminem fan.
I like him. Peanut M&M's is my choice.
Trivia question. What's his real name?
Marshall Mathers.
My guy. All right, one more. Let's just see if you know.
They're
You did O'Shea earlier. All right. What's Biggie's real name?
Smalls. Biggie is
Christopher Wallace.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Jason Howell knew that. It's time for Recruiting Country. Brought to you by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care with 2 ERs in the BCS. You got the original 24-hour ER in South College Station on William D. Fitch and the full-service hospital with ER in Bryant on Briarcrest online, caprockhealthsystem.com. Jason Howell, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. It's been an awesome few days on the recruiting front.
Hadn't it?
Loving it.
Man, he's worked so hard. His beard's gotten gray.
Okay.
My beard has been gray for a long time.
You've been working hard for a long time.
Yeah, TexAgs, man.
Hey, by the way, is that proven by science that like stress and working hard brings gray, or is that just like a fakie?
It must be true because he looks very young everywhere else, but he's always working hard.
I'll say this. My dad worked a lot harder doing a lot more meaningful stuff, I guess, and not gray. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Mr. Howell, let's get into some of these big additions. I don't know. We can maybe work from the beginning of the week. You got Markel Ford, the 2026 edition, the safety. You got Noah McHale. Let's start off with Ford and kind of work our way to the most recent news.
Yeah, Ford. This is a guy that we kind of saw this coming. He's been talking up A&M since Elko and staff really arrived. They made him a top priority from the very beginning. And around the spring, you started hearing he may make a decision very early for 26, and he went ahead, pulled the trigger, wanted to be the first one in the class. Coach Bateman, Coach Ish played a huge role in that. But Elko being a defensive-minded head coach, just it really put him over the top there with those relationships, and he chose A&M over Oklahoma, who is really pushing hard and continues to push hard. Texas, SMU, and LSU were kind of the main ones in the fight there.
Jason, what do you make of the I know it's just maybe you have a theory on why Elko is being so successful in California.
Yeah.
I wish I could just point to, hey, this coach has these relationships or something like that. I think they just looked at the board. They looked at the players that were out there. And I think a lot of the guys that were on staff had some already formulated bonds with some guys. Okay. And there was some mutual, like Noah McHale was a guy that he'd been to A&M before Elko and staff got there. So there was some interest there beforehand. I think that has played a part, and there's just some studs out there that they went hardcore after this spring and were able to bring in on visits, and it's really worked out. They really hit, on the relationships. I know with Noah McHale, it was the football side, but it was really the comfort that he kept going back to, and the relationships. His coach said, watching A&M recruit him, it was that he made real meaningful bonds with the coaches in ways that maybe he made some of that at other schools, but it seemed to be more so at A&M.
Yeah. Talking to Jason Howell here on TexAgs Radio. Let's kind of get a little bit deeper, though, into Noah McHale and what makes him such a coveted linebacker.
6'3", 225, and he is a off-the-ball linebacker, incredibly intelligent, has been a 4-year, started since his freshman year at Bonita High School. He's been, I think, a 2-time district defensive player of the year. Last year, I want to say he was MVP. He's all over the field, sideline to sideline, gets downhill, but he's a guy that diagnoses plays really quickly and is, kind of, I don't want to say he's Torian York because they're different size, they're different types of players in some certain ways, but that they see the plays, they know where they're going, they know what the offense is trying to do, and they get there in a hurry. And he is fast and athletic, but he plays faster than he may measure.
Knows how to play linebacker.
We like that.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly. He is a linebacker. A linebacker.
It's not a project.
He knows. Yeah, this is not an athlete who could play linebacker. This is a guy who comes in and knows the game of football, and you know he could be a real factor from day one.
Jay Sims.
I think me and Bronny talked about it. Him and Rink together.
Yeah.
They're going to be fun to watch. They're incredibly active. You watch Sims tape. His guy is going backwards in a hurry. He is quick off the ball. He works those hands. He gets his hands in the chest of his opponent really quickly. He knows how to work edges on a guy, especially on the interior, and he can get up and down the line of scrimmage in a hurry. Makes plays all over the field, not just behind the line or within the tackle box. He's sideline to sideline for a defensive lineman. I want to say he had 83 tackles and 18 tackles for loss to go with 11 sacks last year as a junior. So this is a guy who he just gets after it. He's gonna make his opponent work, and him and Landon are going to be fun. They bring a lot of similar aspects to the interior, and they have the athleticism where they could play, some of those, five technique, some of that defensive end, and bring some versatility to the front.
Hey, before we hit a break and we look ahead of what could still be coming, Marco Jones, I know a lot of people are excited about his potential, especially how athletic he is.
6'5", 240, and he's a long edge guy, multi-sport athlete. That's also looking at baseball. Absolutely. You beat USC, Michigan, and Texas for this guy. His dad played at Colorado. He comes from a very athletic family, but he's also just a tremendous young man. And I know I mentioned it in the in-home visit. Him and Noah have a real connection and are pretty close. And I think that's always going to be fun to watch when you have some guys like that have that chemistry, that unspoken bond there. And they seem like peas in a pod there with their just the way they present themselves off the field and how they try and invest in the community.
All right, let's hit a break here, Jason. We'll come back with more on Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health System. Right now, Milliken Reserve Time, a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces, and they got a mission to build a healthy community around nature. And they've done that by dedicating conservation to the healthy community, respect for that native landscape, and, of course, that beautiful wildlife that you can find at Milliken Reserve. They've got the white-tailed deer, the songbirds, the rabbits, the turtles, you name it. They also have respect for that native landscape, as I mentioned, but the 30 miles of trails. And they've got families. They want to connect families to nature and to each other. They're committed to maintaining and restoring a natural habitat. It is a great place to connect with your family, enjoy the outdoors, jump rope, climb trees, throw the ball together, just enjoy it. But when you go there, make sure that you can take advantage of the hiking, the biking, the canoeing, the kayaking, the fishing, the equestrian trails, the evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals, the farmer markets, and the farm tours. You can learn more at millikenreserve.com. That website, again, is millikenreserve.com. Go check it out. You're kind of jam, OB?
I'm not familiar with this particular tune, but I kind of like it.
I saw you moving your head to it. It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health. Jason Howell is on the hotline. OB, I know you had a follow-up question on California for him.
I was asked by a listener if you would, in your opinion, what are their chances of landing Riley Pettijohn?
Well, he's announcing Saturday, July 6th, USC, A&M, Ohio State, Texas, the Final Four there. Been hearing A&M's got some real momentum and has really made a strong push since their official visit. They got the last of his official visits on the 21st weekend there in June. And Coach Bateman has as strong a relationship as he has formed with anybody throughout this recruiting process. It goes back to his days in Florida. He's done a tremendous job at both Florida and A&M, letting him know how he plans to use him and what his skill set, brings to the table and how he fits in on and off the field and, around the program. So A&M has a real ace up their sleeve in Bateman. Whether or not it makes it all, go down on the 6th is yet to be seen. USC has a lot of momentum there. There's been a lot of talk of him heading out of state. Ohio State have made a big play as well. But if he stays in state, I think Texas A&M is the choice based on what I'm hearing these days.
Kelshawn Johnson, I know that Carson in the back, who loves recruiting, was curious about what are the prospects with him.
Yeah, A&M seems to be in a really good spot there. He's announcing on Monday, July 8th, Texas, USC, Arkansas, Texas Tech, kind of rounding out his top schools as well. But A&M's had some real momentum there since he visited in early June. And, I think Coach Wiggins has done a phenomenal job there. I'd give the Aggies the edge. He looked really, really good over the weekend at the state 7-on-7 championships, playing in Division II there with Hitchcock. And you saw when he turned on the Jets, man, he can really get gone in a hurry, brings a lot of speed and quickness to the table. Definitely a dynamic piece. And A&M looks like they may be in the driver's seat there.
Any other players in California that the Aggies are interested in?
You love Cali.
Well, right now, I think the four that they've got were kind of the main targets. They were also in on DJ Lee, who chose Alabama. He visited in June. But I think that was also seen as more the long shot out of the five that they had. And I got to throw Jamar Bill Goins out there. Arizona, Phoenix, standout speedster cornerback. That gives you five guys out west that really bring some intriguing dynamics to the defense. Well, to the field with Longstreet being the offensive guy and the other four being on the defensive side.
Jason, we've got about 45 seconds left. LBU, right? Linebackers are loving this Elko idea.
Yeah, and Bateman does a phenomenal job. He's got that defensive staff has people fired up, and it's this is a great crew. Kelvion Riggins, let's not forget about him. One of the first guys to pull the trigger and get the momentum rolling with Texas A&M, and you got to love what they're doing out there. I wouldn't be surprised to see another edition.
Thank you, brother. Have a great one.
You too. Thank you.
Jason Howell there on
between
the
him
hotline.
Between him and Rod Brodiger, they know everything that's going on.
They do. Got a great crew. OB, you're headed out, so we'll talk to you very soon.
Like next Friday.
Next Friday?
A week from Friday.
Well, unless there's breaking news, I'll bother you.
Then you can call me. Yeah.
That's how we roll.
I'll be on a raft in a Whitewater River in Colorado.
Well, have a great trip. Thank you, brother. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Juan Harris. John Harris next on TexAgs. One of my besties, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline where we find Juan Haris. John Harris, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. How are you?
FootballTakeover.com czar, and of course, Houston Texans sideline reporter. Little jealous that you and Raheel got to kick it yesterday, and no text, no invite, no nada. Just you and Heezy.
Well, I apologize for that. It would have been great to have you. You two are my brothers. That will always be that way. And yeah, we had a chance to get together, and you were working.
Yeah.
Which is what you've been doing lately. You've been working a lot on a few different things. So we knew you were busy, but we figured, you know what, we'll get together, get the three of us together at some point and kick it and do that. But yeah, it was good to catch up with Raheel. My Pakistani brother forever, and you're my Cuban brother. And I think that's what makes life great in some sense, is that people from all different walks of life can come together and love each other like family, man, and work together, work hard, and do some good things and not stab each other in the back. Like, anyways, yeah.
What are you talking about? Because I know of a few
I'm not
different
talking
things.
about us. I'm talking about other people we worked with.
Oh, I thought maybe you were talking about a little baseball situation.
No. Oh, well, there's that too. Yeah. That, you know, when you texted me last week, or I don't know if it was you, maybe it was Nick. I can't remember. Somebody, you know, hey, look, sorry, we're going to be talking about this. I'm like, hey, I'd like to talk about this. I'd love to talk about this. This is the kind of stuff that, you know, it's the Us Weekly of sports in some sense, all the stuff that went down. And you know, for those people that, oh, well, you just know football. I'm like, man, I've been the biggest College World Series follower since I can remember. I mean, I've dating back to the days of P and Covilla at Oklahoma State. You know, I loved the College World Series. I still do. And it was hanging on every pitch that was going on. It was a great College World Series. Obviously didn't go the way that I wanted it to. I wanted the Aggies to win that thing. But, man, what a series.
Yeah.
And the TV ratings are up. And, I mean, everything is great. And then Richard asked one question that he had every single right to ask, and it turns into, like, content for days for people. I mean, I can't imagine what you guys were going through, you know, trying to figure out, like, who's going to be the coach? How are you going to do this? I mean, I don't know if you guys knew Schlossnagle or not. I've talked to people in the Houston area after things happened that didn't have a lot of complimentary things to say, but I would say it's water under bridge, but I don't think it's going to be. I mean, I can't imagine. I know a lot of people around here, like, I mean, I can't wait for November 30th. Can't wait for Texas A&M to get back on the field together in football, et cetera. I think there are more people that are now more anxious for Texas A&M baseball, especially at A&M this coming spring. So I can't even imagine how you guys got through that. The craziest times and how everything went down and the fact that Richard was involved and TexAgs name is out there and all that. And I was just proud of him because I thought he handled it incredibly well. The other side of it, not so much.
Johnny, it's interesting because when it all happens, like, by the way, you asked if Jim was great to me. He was fantastic. He did have a Bill O'Brien-esque response to Richard, right? But he was really good to me. He's a great coach. I don't like what he did, and I don't think anybody in A&M is ever going to be okay with how he did it and what he did. But it took a while to get here, but I think everyone's going to be better off. All right, Texas got the guy they wanted, fine. He didn't want to be here, good. Go be with your buddy, right? Go hang out. And I think we hired a fantastic person for this job, a guy that the players love in Michael Earley, a guy who's just a good dude who wants to be here and raise a family in College Station, and he wants to win at the highest level, and he's going to get the stadium that Schloss wanted done, right? So he's going to have it. Yeah. So I think we're going to be fine. We're going to be maybe even better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best news out of all this is that there at least is some continuity from a team that came so close to winning a national championship. And I could only imagine what would have happened had in game 2, pitching not melted down the last couple innings and given up some big home runs at Tennessee. And again, you know, it's a team that had 4 guys hit over 20 home runs, and the MVP of the series, Dreiling, I think was not, I don't know if he was one of them, and he was incredible. and hit one of those home runs in 8th or 9th inning or whatever it was for Tennessee in game 2, when it just felt like, and this is what I kept thinking about in that series, David. I felt like going in, and I know it wasn't completely like this, but I felt like A&M's pitching and defense, that's the way it won games. And Tennessee was, 1996 LSU Gorilla Ball. And I felt like in game 1, A&M beat Tennessee playing Tennessee's kind of game. And then in game 2, A&M was beating Tennessee using A&M's style up until Gorilla Ball kicked in the last couple of innings and the catcher hits a home run and then Dreiling hits a home run and you end up losing that game. And then, in game 3, it's just, can't get hits with guys in scoring position. And you just can't find it. And you just need a little bit more to get over top. You just couldn't come up with the clutch hits when you needed it. So it was a really interesting series. It was an interesting 3-game series there against Tennessee. And just a knockdown, drag out. And for people that are fans of college baseball, they loved it. Not seeing A&M win was not, I know for a lot of people, was frustrating. But I thought Tennessee, you look at the college baseball teams that are out there, I mean, A&M, Tennessee were probably the top 2 in the country. I mean, I think it came down to the top 2 teams. And A&M just comes up a run short. But to me, it was that game 2, pitching was so good. And then also the last couple innings, it just can't get a couple of guys out. And you move on. And here's how, to me, this is how close everything is. Tennessee wins a national championship, but in game 1 against Florida State, they're down 2 or 3. I can't remember, 2 or 3 at the time. And the first baseman was at the plate, and he checked swings on it was 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. He checked swings, and it's close. It's close against Florida State. And they say he didn't go. 2 pitches later, he gets a base hit that drives in a couple runs. It keeps the rally going. They win that game. If Tennessee doesn't win that game against Florida State, now they got to fight through the loser's bracket, the loser side of things, and now it becomes that much more difficult because now the pitching is taxed. It didn't happen. But it was that close to Tennessee having to do that. And that just shows you, I mean, in a championship season, man, you can have a great team. That one thing, it can just be that close on one play that goes your way, and that's the break you need. That was the break Tennessee needed. That was a reminder. Gorilla Ball is not gone in baseball, man. Those guys hit the baseball like none other. I mean, holy cow. I saw that 96 LSU team up close, and they were weight room gargantuans. Tennessee was not. They just had dudes that could rake. The fact that A&M went toe-to-toe with them, I mean, I think it's a feather in their cap. I just wish they would have got a couple more runs to finish it.
Talking to Johnny Harris here on TexAgs Radio. John, let's talk a little football. Let's turn the page to football because Andy Staples, a friend of this show and of On3, he predicts 5 teams from the SEC will make the 12-team playoff this year. He's got Georgia, Texas, Alabama, and Ole Miss. And then he's got some maybes out there. And if I remember correctly, Mizzou, Oklahoma are part of the maybes. How many SEC teams do you think will be in the college football playoffs?
Okay, David, say it again. He had Georgia, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss.
And then I believe, if I remember correctly, I wrote down Mizzou and Oklahoma's potentials.
Okay. I mean, when you move Texas, I mean, look, OU is probably a little bit better than I give it credit for. We'll see about Jackson Arnold. I always feel like college football, the summer of college football can be really interesting because whenever you've got, it's kind of this way for A&M last year. Now, I will say I felt like A&M fans were actually pretty measured for the most part with their thoughts on Connor Wigman going into last year. But whenever Tennessee's going through this with Nico Iamaleava, you've got it with Jackson Arnold at OU, these 5-star recruits that you've moved aside the other guy. Now you're moving these guys in. Oh, boy, here we go. Now we're about to be this team. And then all of a sudden, oh, man, that guy's not very good. And that happens a lot. So with Oklahoma, I do think Jackson Arnold's a tremendous quarterback. But, how does it translate? Against Arizona in the bowl game, he threw 3 interceptions, I think, in the first half. So I always, okay, I'll keep an eye on them. But I think the teams you mentioned, Georgia, Carson Beck returning, Texas with Quinn Ewers returning, Ole Miss with Jackson Dart returning, Alabama, Jalen Milroe returning, even Missouri with Brady Cook, who I think is probably one of the underrated players in the conference. Those guys all returning, you think, okay, combined with what they've got coming back, they seem like they're pretty exciting. I think we'll know, obviously, once Notre Dame comes to town. It's a good football team, good in the trenches, and we'll see what they've got at quarterback with Riley Leonard and how that clicks. But I think we'll see the measure of where A&M is going to be. I do think A&M can be a dark horse in this whole thing. Obviously, the schedule is tough for everybody in the SEC. But I think those teams that Andy Staples mentioned are absolutely in the mix. The question becomes, and this is where I'm not sure about this. When it comes to deciding the wild card teams, obviously outside of the championship teams, and the committee is deciding those, is there SEC fatigue? I know some of it you can't control. I mean, like, if Missouri's 11-1, having gone through the conference, but let's say Missouri's 11-1, but they can't get to the championship game because 2 SEC teams are undefeated. Well, Missouri's ranked, I don't know, top 7. They should be in the playoff. So there's going to be some irrefutable evidence that you can't go against. But I think what's going to happen for the committee, what's going to get tough, is if let's say Ole Miss has 2 losses and they're at number 10, and let's say that Oregon has 1 loss in the Big Ten, didn't play a tough schedule, is kind of fading a little bit. Does Oregon get the slot or does Ole Miss get the slot? Is there going to be some SEC fatigue? That's where I think the 5 teams going into the playoff is going to be kind of tough. Now, if the Big Ten's getting 4 and the SEC is getting 5, and then there's 1 from the other conferences, the ACC and whatever, the Big 12, then okay, I think people will be fine with that. But I do think if the SEC ends up getting 5 teams, the Big 10 gets 2, the ACC gets 2, the Big 12 gets 1 or 2, and then there's a non-power, there's a group of 6 or how many ever conferences, whatever that is now. I think that's going to be tough for people to understand or comprehend. How are they getting 5 teams in this playoff? It's a lot closer. There should be more teams from other conferences. There should be less. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. But I think those teams that Andy Staples all mentioned absolutely are going to be in the mix. And for the simplest reason, they've got experienced quarterbacks coming back. And for each one, you can go around and go, okay, yeah, Alabama's got a new coach, but he brought over some really good talent. And the guy coached the national championship game last year. And Kalen DeBoer is one of the better coaches in the country. Ole Miss has got a ton of talent that they brought in from transfers. Georgia is Georgia. I mean, they got everything. Texas, I know people don't want to hear it, but Texas reloaded at wide receiver might be even better. Up front, they're still really good. They lose the top 2 guys. They still got Alfred Collins. They still got Anthony Hill on the outside. So those teams are all – there's continuity, there's quarterbacks, and there's excellent coaches. Even in the one place that changed from Nick Saban and Kalen DeBoer, there's not that much of a coaching drop-off to Kalen DeBoer. So I could absolutely see those coaches being in the mix. Now, A&M gets in that mix. I could see that absolutely. Schedule's tough. But I think if Connor Wigman stays healthy, Mike Elko's the right fit, A&M's going to be in that mix for a while.
Johnny, a couple things about that. I think A&M fans would just – look, we want to be in the playoffs. Of course, everybody. We want to win a national championship. But I think it would feel like we're on the right trajectory if we're in the conversation come November. Just in the conversation. Yes. We want to get it. We want to be in the conversation. When you talk about the hard schedule, I agree. But I got some questions about Notre Dame. I've got questions about several of the teams that are on their schedule. LSU, I've got questions about. I'm not really I think Missouri's going to be really good, but I still got questions about it. So, like, the teams that are perceived to be top 10, top 15-ish, I don't know. Like, they're going to – LSU gets the benefit of the doubt because they're LSU, but they've got a lot of questions to answer for me, along with some of those other teams.
I mean, I've said how many times have you and I talked about this about LSU. I don't think LSU is on an upward trajectory. I really don't. I do think they've got a couple of pieces of NFL talent at key spots, but I still don't know that they know what position Harold Perkins plays. They've got 2 really good tackles, including one of a top 7 tackle or a top 7 NFL prospect in Will Campbell. But do the wide receivers scare you? Now, one of the guys they brought over from Liberty, I think is really good, very underrated, JT Daniels. But we got to see how he reacts to playing in the SEC. I agree with you. Missouri's got the same thing. They lost Tyron Hopper at linebacker, and they lost Darius Robinson on the outside. So, and they lost their 2 corners and a safety. So Mizzou is going to have some issues on defense. But at least, and then obviously they lose Cody Schrader. But they bring back Luther Burden and they have Brady Cook. And they're pretty experienced on the front. So you could convince me, if you told me at the end of the year, hey, Mizzou's going to finish top 7, I'd be like, okay. If you told me LSU was going to finish top 7, I'd be like, really? No, I don't see that. I don't see that. I think LSU is right there with Clemson. They're not ascending. They're not ascending in college football. They're not, Brian Kelly's making excuses about NIL and whatever else. I don't know. He's a piece of work. So I'm not buying LSU. I'm not even buying, like you said, that Notre Dame is great, especially playing them in Kyle Field, the opener where they got to come down and deal with that heat and humidity, and they got to deal with a quarterback that's coming back from last year that some people are saying could be the number 1 pro prospect in college football right now. So it's not in. And you always know the Texas game, whenever those, they haven't gotten together for a while, but when they do, kind of throw the records out the window, that kind of game. And the game's at home. So it's not the most daunting schedule, but every week, what's the right way of saying this? You're not going to walk in there you're going to play 2 games against 2 schools and then, oh, well, that's cool. We'll just get through these 2 because next week we've got, this conference game and they're terrible. We've got this conference game and we know they're terrible. Every team that A&M plays this year is going to be pretty tough, especially in conference, no matter what. So, is Arkansas primed for a ton of success? Probably not. But you know how that game goes with Arkansas. It's a game that A&M should win by 2 touchdowns each year, and it's like, man, this thing is a fight with 3 minutes left to go in the game. We're going to overtime again. So it's just that kind of year. And I think it's like that for a lot of really good teams like Georgia. Georgia a couple of years ago should have had no problem messing around with Missouri. Missouri was not good in 2022. They were okay. And Georgia goes to Missouri. They're down by 17 at some point in the first half. And you're like, what? So there's always going to be that game, too, that trips you up and you don't know where it's going to happen. But I think overall, as far as schedules for A&M, I think it's been harder in some other years. But you do tack on Notre Dame, and now you throw in Texas in the mix. So it does become a little bit harder. But to me, if A&M stays healthy, I think they've got a chance to go toe-to-toe Mike Tyson style with all these teams in the SEC. It's not going to be A&M's a 10-point dog this weekend to LSU. That ain't happening. I can promise you that.
Johnny, have a great 4th of July, man. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, buddy. Missed you yesterday. We'll get together.
Talk to you soon, bro. See you, man. John Harris here on TexAgs Radio. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Will Johnson in studio, talk a little Aggie baseball, a little Aggie football, get you ready for SEC Media Days. Right now, though, FBS Appliance and their team of experts are here to help you find the appliances that make your house a home. They carry all the top brands, Bosch, whatever you're looking for, they've got it there. They've got Maytag, you name it. They have all the appliances to fit any budget, and they've been caring for Texas since 1988. They want to make sure that you know that they're going to take care of you every step of the way. They've got trained installers to guide you through your purchase because they want to be your trusted appliance store. Their services don't stop at sales. They offer expert installations carried out by skilled technicians who are factory trained. At FBS Appliance, they're committed to delivering exceptional experience from start to finish. You can trust them to provide unparalleled service and support every step of the way because FBS Appliance is your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across the great state of Texas or find them online at factorybuilderstores.com. It's FBS at factorybuilderstores.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Will Johnson here. What's up, Will?
Longest athletic season ever.
Yeah, we were talking about
basically
that
ended today. Today's the end of the athletic season. Because when you think of Mike's welcome and press conference yesterday, I consider that all a part of the athletic season. And it ends today, July 3rd. Football practice is the end of the month.
Yeah, it's so weird, Will. Like, to me, like, as a talk show host, I love having stuff. We're still talking baseball on July 3rd.
Yeah.
As a parent, as a vacationer, right? Like, I was like, can we get a little break, guys?
It's a condensed summer.
Yeah.
Is what it is. With the length of the baseball season, long run in Omaha, then the coaching situation. July 3rd, athletic season ends, and I think football practice is July 31st.
That quick, yeah.
Because it's an early kickoff to the season with August 31st.
Right.
So here's your summer, July 3rd to July 31st, 28 days. Make good use of it. For me, that's summer.
Yeah. But I wouldn't trade it, man. Like, obviously, I wish they would have finished the deal, and they were so close to finishing the deal. But it's kind of like what we talked about in basketball. And in football at times, right? Like, we get to know these personalities, and then we get to see them shine the way we saw all those young men shine.
Yeah, and we've always seen great crowds at Olsen Field at Bluebell Park. It has always been a special place to be, but we kept saying it on broadcast throughout the year. This 2024 team captured them in a special way.
Yep.
Jace Laviolette, Braden Montgomery, our Ivy League guys, Jackson Appel, Hayden Schott, Gavin Grahovac. I could go down the list. They captured the 12th man in a different way than I've ever seen. I mean, you even have Hayden Schott, introducing new ways to entertain the crowd with the Rattling Bog, and he had his Fungo Golf League going on out there. But it was a different way that they captured Bluebell Park, and it was so special to see. You can say they came one run from a title, but I said it as we closed out the broadcast in Omaha. You don't get to flirt with heartbreak unless you're great.
Yeah.
There were a lot of teams sitting home watching the Aggies. They'd been long gone from the tournament, or they didn't even make the tournament. They didn't get to flirt with heartbreak because they weren't great. This team was great, and when you are great, you bring that into play. You bring a one-run loss in a national championship game into play. I know it hurts, but it doesn't overshadow the fact that this team was great and maybe the greatest ever on the baseball diamond we've ever seen.
Well, to follow that up, too, is like, I wasn't there, so I can only imagine the tension. But, like, watching it, I almost didn't like the way it made me feel, but I loved it. It was like a weird relationship with it because, like, when they were up in the 6th inning, I'm like, oh, my God, we might freaking do this.
Yeah.
We might freaking do this.
I know.
And I'm getting real antsy, and every pitch seems like it's taking longer. And, like, it was just so stressful. But yet that's why we love it.
I told myself kind of the same thing. We won the first game against Tennessee, so you're one win away from a national title. But you kept just telling yourself there's work to do. Well, you got an early lead, a 1-0 lead in the Sunday game, game 2. But you kind of felt it was teetering. You knew Tennessee had an offense, and you knew a 1-0 lead kind of wouldn't hold up. So you're kind of telling yourself there's work to do. Don't get excited yet. And then Tennessee did what they did. They hit a couple of long balls. But then you got down in the Monday finale. But this team, so great. They fought back. They got to within a run. And there was always those moments when you're up 1-0 on Sunday, when you're down 6-5 in the 9th on Monday, you're kind of saying, okay,
we might do this.
We can do this. We might be the one hoisting the trophy. You never wanted to let yourself get too far ahead because you knew that's what the players were doing. They take it one pitch at a time, so you're trying to do the same thing they're doing. But, man, those glimmers in there of, oh, my goodness, the trophy might be ours. We might be the one dogpiling in Omaha, Nebraska. It would creep in. And they say never let your heart rate rise as an athlete, but in my role, it rises. And it was beaten in those moments.
So follow me here. Look, you get as close as possible, and I think A&M might be better off in the future. I thought Schloss was great. Mm-hmm. We don't need to get into the drama of that. But they got a guy who wants to be here with players that want to be here. I think they got the right guy. We'll see. We got to see, right? But, like, I feel good about this hire.
They got a guy you can get behind. Mm-hmm. Mike Earley, when you talk to him, when you get to know him, he's really going to do this for 3 reasons. I mean, he talked to you guys. He said he hadn't really slept yet.
Right.
He'll take the big nap in December is the way he put it. And he grinds and he works hard for 3 reasons, probably in this order: his family, his players, and Aggies, the 12th man. You can get behind that. Yeah, there's a lot of great coaches, but they don't always do it for those 3 reasons I just named. Mike Earley has shown you that that's his priorities: his family, his players, and the fan base, the 12th man. That's who he's going to grind for. That's who he's not going to sleep for until December. You can get behind that, David. I think we all can, and I think it's exactly what we need when it comes to Aggie baseball right now.
Part of the vitriol on Tuesday, or Monday night started, but on Tuesday, was the fact that your head man is leaving for your rival.
Mm-hmm.
And also, in this new world of college athletics, it felt like, dude, we're about to knock on the championship. You know, we can still do this, and they're all going to leave, right? So that was part of the anger. But now it feels like the bulk of the players are staying. We've heard from the stars that are staying. Like, this window has been extended, and that, to me, is exciting.
Yeah, the extended window, we were talking about it during the break. It's a condensed summer because of the extended window, but for the right reasons. Just to hear players talk about Mike Earley the way they do, just to hear Trev Alberts and President Welsh talk about Mike Earley the way they did yesterday. I mean, it's all for you mentioned it's going to work out. It's going to work out for the right reasons because the right guy is here. And I just keep going back to the statement. My phrase is, this is a guy we can get behind. So the extension of it all, it was a whirlwind to get here. And Mike Earley has said it, you probably don't want to go through that again, that type of whirlwind. But you came out of it really well on the other side with the right guy in place and a lot of people, including those players, ready to get behind him and the so-called run through a wall for him.
Does Jason Howell know that he's a superstar? He doesn't act like it, right?
He doesn't act like – I think he's fully aware of what he can accomplish next year. But you love the humility.
Mm-hmm.
He'll deflect things onto his teammates. You know, he's got his teammates back. He's not – it's kind of like, you know, the 3 reasons I said Mike Earley's going to work hard for A&M is none of them dealt with Mike Earley. Jay Slaviolette's kind of the same way. He may end up being the greatest player that's ever played here. But he's not about Jay Slaviolette, so to speak. I mean, he's tight with all his teammates. He's tight with his coaches. He wants to go to work for them. Now, yeah, he's going to have a future that he'll be thinking about, and then he needs to because, I mean, we all know what's at stake for him when it comes to the MLB draft next year and things like that. But, I mean, he's an Aggie through and through, and he doesn't sit here and tell you all the time about Jay Slaviolette. He talks about Hayden Schott. He talks about Ted Burton. He talks about Mike Earley and Aggies and what this place means to him. It's a dose of fresh air. Look, Jay Slaviolette's a guy we can get behind too.
Stick around for a short football segment?
Yeah.
Awesome. We'll come back here with more with Will Johnson. Right now, Hush and Whisper. They're an innovative distillery cocktail lounge founded to defy convention and distill true grain to glass spirits. That you can find them in the Verisco building downtown Bryan, where I started my career at Power 94, the only station that gives a jam. That's where I started. Well, now it's the best place in town to go hang out. It feels like you're in the 1930s. It feels like you're kind of away, but you're here in the Brazos Valley hanging out and learning about whiskey the way they make it. You can reserve a tour when you're there. You can do a tasting. You can just do the tasting. You can book an event. You can do meetings. You can do celebrations. You can do team building events. Come in for a cocktail or a mocktail, buy a bottle, or experience it at home. Gin, vodka, white whiskey bottles are all for sale. Check out the website, hushandwhisper.com. They are open Thursdays and Fridays, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. Again, that is 219 North Main Street. Go check it out. It is Hush and Whisper, hushandwhisper.com. Studio host, sideline reporter, good friend Will Johnson in studio here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. So we made the semi-joke about no vacation time because, But
I'm going to get one in.
But, I mean, football season's here, man. Are you ready for it?
July 3rd today. Aggies Day at Media Days is SEC Media Days in Dallas, the 18th.
That Thursday? Yeah.
I think the first day of practice is the 31st. I'm always excited for it. I'm not quite ready for it.
I get that.
Yet. We're just coming off of baseball mode, so I've got some prep work to do in a short amount of time, that's for sure.
Well, let me throw you a question then that might require more prep later, but just as of right now, two dudes talking. What part of this football team are we maybe sleeping on? Because I can throw you a couple different options. Like DBs are going to be better. We got some new guys coming in. Special teams coordinator, like that. The special teams may be better. I know it's not a sexy thought, but where's an area that we haven't really been thinking about that could be really good?
I don't know if I have a position unit just yet. I think the offensive line has a chance to be better.
Yeah,
much improved with Adam Cushing running that position unit and a few interchangeable parts there. I think something, not a position unit here, something that might be slept on, and I think people are excited about this, but maybe we could talk about it a little more, is just the addition of Colin Klein to run the offense. And here's what excites me. Anytime I talk football when it's on the offensive side of the ball, I always talk about how A&M in their past, these past few years, they've been fine offensively. They can move the ball. It just resulted in a lot of field goals. I mean, Randy Bond tried more field goals than anybody in college football last year. Colin Klein comes in. He's a guy that can end drives with touchdowns. His red zone touchdown percentage last year at Kansas State was one of the best in the nation. A&M has to greatly improve on that. They could get to the red zone. They couldn't punch it in the end zone. Explosive plays. I think he can find ways to create more explosive plays. A&M moved the football in past years. They didn't have explosive plays, and they weren't great in the red zone, though, when they moved the football. What that equates to is kicking too many field goals to win a lot of SEC games. Colin Klein comes in, and I think he's got a recipe of explosive play potential mixed with really good red zone efficiency and creativity to end drives with touchdowns. He is maybe the addition of this whole thing that I'm watching that maybe I'm most excited about for those reasons. People have talked about him, and I think people are excited about Colin Klein. I think I'm a little more excited than most people, and maybe that hasn't been talked about enough. I know it's been talked about, but maybe not enough. But the addition of Colin Klein and the way he'll handle the offense is something that don't sleep on that, because I think that's going to be huge for the Aggies this year.
Well, another thing, too, like I think Connor's an interesting person to talk about because many people are high on him. But they consider him injury-prone, which is not the truth, right? The sample size is small, but the small sample size we've seen has been elite, 19-2, with really, sorry for saying it out loud, a prehistoric offense, right? Like this is with an offense that felt like it
lacked explosives.
It lacked all the things you talked about. So, like, if Connor is the guy that we think he is, and he puts up the kind of numbers that we think he can do with Colin Klein, this guy could be a first-round quarterback in the NFL draft.
Yeah. I mean, he's got that kind of talent and all the intangibles. I mean, Colin Klein, I think he likes a quarterback that can take off and run, and he'll design some runs with Connor. But then you got to make all the throws. And Connor can make the throws. He can run around. I like what you might see in the designed run game for Connor Wigman. That's an intangible that makes me also say don't sleep on the Colin Klein hire, even though I guess most people are excited about it. He can make the throws. If he's got to get out of trouble, he can do it scramble-wise. But now the design stuff for him, I think, adds a whole new dynamic to his game. And that's why he can be that guy that maybe you say in the future is a high-round draft pick in the NFL.
Well, I appreciate you coming in, brother.
Hey, always fun.
Thank you so much, man.
Let's go get a vacation.
Yes, sir.
Then we'll hit media days and
everything
preseason camp.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Thank you very much, Will Johnson here. When we come back, our track program Spotlight brought to you by Schulte Roofing, Pat Henry, and Wendell McCraven in studio. That and more. It's TexAgs Radio. Welcome back to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for our track program Spotlight, brought to you by Schulte Roofing. Roofing. Hello. Hey now. Pat Henry's in the house. Wendell McCraven. Hello, friends. How are you?
Great. How you doing?
We're sitting here thinking about the reefing company.
The reefing company. Apologies for that, Schulte. So you were telling me, it's interesting, we're talking about the one-run game in baseball, right?
Yeah.
It's game 2 of the College World Series, and you're like, welcome to my world, because that is, everything's a nail-biter in your world.
That's right. That's the way it is. That's why we do what we do. And you guys love watching it because that's what it's all about, you know. Throwing the ball in the end zone on the last play of the game. That's what it's all about, you know, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And Will Johnson, I'm getting after Will.
As you should.
Will was talking about the athletic season's over now that baseball is completed and we got a new coach and this and that. The greatest athletic event in the history of the planet is coming the end of July, August, the Olympic Games. That involves everybody, so except football and baseball.
That's right.
You know.
And we got a lot of Aggies representing.
We're going to have a lot of Aggies there.
So let's kind of look at the year overall.
Yep.
And then we'll look ahead.
Yep.
So just how do you categorize this past season? Because I felt like it was an up, up, and up. And I know you fell short of what your ultimate goal was, but I'm sure you hit many of your goals on the way.
Well, everybody's in the business to win the last one. I mean, you know, we're all in the business to do that. You talked about difficulty of doing. But that's why we do it, you know. And this year we had a team that, especially on the men's side, the ladies, we continued to get better as the season went along as a group. But the men for sure got much better as the year got. You know, we got beat by 10 points at the national championship. Well, you know, if you win one event, that's 10 points. We got disqualified in 2 events, which was unfortunate for us. One in the first round, and then our quartermaster, you know, Ahmad Robinson, they said he stepped on the line. I'm still looking for that line, but they said he did. Well, that's 7 points right there. And so, yeah, that's a nail. It comes right down to the end. We were very, very close. We have a great group coming back. We had some great things happen in the Olympic trials. So yeah, I think this was a very, very positive season for us.
Well, and I want to get into some specifics of the Olympics, but
and Wendell had his best year in a long time too, but with our distance people. And I think I'll let Wendell say this, but I think our next group that we're going to put on the course is going to be very, very good.
Well, to talk a little bit about that, and it's funny because you are in preseason mode right now, right? Like you have to get ready.
Yeah. I mean, I got people calling me. I got athletes calling me, checking in, all kinds of stuff.
Training.
I mean, from all over the world, tell me about their training and getting FaceTimes and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we're in. That's the thing with the distance runners. It's a year-round deal. We finished track season and they get a couple weeks to catch their breath, and now it's getting ready for cross country season. So. Yeah, we'll host 4 meets this year, including as Coach I think already mentioned, the SEC and the regional championships, and so we got a busy year ahead of us. Yeah,
busy year, and there's a lot of events. You can start buying tickets online, right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it up yet.
Okay, but it's coming.
But yeah, and in fact, this will be the first year that we are going to sell tickets for the cross country meets. Because there's a lot more people at a cross-country competition than people really realize because it's all spread out. I want our athletic base here to know how many people come to a cross-country meet. It's significant. And so, yeah, we're going to sell online. We're going to sell at the gate. We're going to try to find out some things about ourselves.
Can you talk about the importance of getting volunteers to help out, especially at these long-distance events?
Yeah. It doesn't take many people for a cross-country meet. Wendell will tell you, our athletes will do some things for us. I mean, our track team will work around the cross-country meet to do some busy work, basically, and course work. But it takes about 20 officials for a cross-country meet. And as our officials association, we've got 130 very active people in our officials association. And a regular track meet takes right around 100 people to work. Not everybody can come every time. But, yeah, we have a great officials association, probably the best in the country. I don't know who would have a better working group than what we do. And so, but we always need new blood. We always need new people. And even if you don't know an awful lot about track, we got an educated group of 100+ people that will really help you to learn the sport, learn some things, or re-educate yourself. Everybody knows about track. I mean, there's a tape measure and a stopwatch, not too much more, you know. But the help that they can provide is tremendous. We don't pay officials.
Let's talk about some of those who have qualified for the Olympics because some great stories. Fred Curley, the 100-meter, he looked fantastic.
No, he is. I mean, you run 980.
88, I think.
988, and you're third in the United States. That means you probably, you know, Jamaica will put some sprinters. Everybody will have sprinters. But Fred's proven himself to be a big-time competitor, so I look for Fred to be very competitive.
Yeah, and then Jacob Wooten in the pole vault.
Jacob looks really good right now. He's a 19-foot, 3-inch, 4-inch pole vaulter right now. There's only, you know, there's a handful of those guys in the world, so it's going to be competitive for him.
Maggie Malone, I saw that release when it came out. So happy to see that.
Yeah, through a long ways, and that's a meat record.
Yep.
It's a meat record for U.S.
U.S. trials, yeah.
U.S. trials. So Maggie just keeps getting a little bit better all the time. You know, getting older and getting better.
Brandon Miller.
Brandon looked great. I mean, he really did. We have a great half-miter on our group right now, and he just didn't run a smart race.
Yeah, I mean, it's experience. I think he's taken it to another level. It's on Sam, obviously. Taken it to another level this year and stuff, and we really thought he was capable of being in that final and maybe making the team.
That's right.
Sometimes it comes with experience.
Yeah, you know. Brandon looked really good. Yeah. I was really proud of Brandon Miller. Yeah, he looked really good.
Yeah, looks like a veteran. He's still a young guy, though.
Right.
I mean, he's, 23 maybe?
Yeah. Bryce Deadman, too. You got to remember it. He was a U.S. champion last year.
Yeah.
I don't see how they're going to keep him out of the relay pool because he ran the 2 fastest splits for the U.S. at the last Olympic Games. I mean, he ran on the mixed relay and he ran the 4x4 twice. And if I'm the U.S. coach, I'm going to have a hard time leaving Bryce out of there.
Absolutely. Anybody else possible?
We got Lamar Diston for
Lamar's in.
Yeah. Kimar Farguson, he has an opportunity. He anchored the Jamaican 4x4. You have to run 2:59.11 to qualify for the Olympic Games as a team. They ran 2:59.6 and they ran 2:59.8 on separate weekends. So they're out right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they are one that gets in. So Kimar would have a chance of getting in on a 4x4. And that goes back to our group. Our group ran 2:58 this year. So you know, we right now I think we have the fastest time in the world right now, still.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Just put the Aggies in the Olympics. We'll be fine.
Yeah. Wendell, just tell me how the rest of your summer is going to go before it really starts cranking.
Well, today starts, we start camp, our high school summer track camp, and so we'll have a busy few days, and then we'll get a little bit of a break. You know, we're not hosting it, but at E.B. Cushing, we'll have the Junior Olympic National Championships at the end of July. And a lot of us will be involved in helping out with that a little bit, but you know, it's recruiting. You know, I talked to Coach Abel this morning about we're setting up a couple in-home visits for the summer. It's recruiting, it's all that kind of stuff, and it never stops. I mean, that's the great thing is if you're not busy, you're probably falling behind. So
hey, so with you know, you're so used to being at College Station with this weather, but like when it gets to the 98s to the 100s, even at 7 a.m., right? Like, what is the game plan timing?
Business.
What you mean for
just
like for our kids that are
you just go as early as possible?
Yeah, I mean, once school starts, we'll start practice. We go at 6:30 in the morning. Our kids that are here in college, most of our team, most of our distance kids are from Texas.
Right.
There's a handful of them that are in Colorado right now because they're really smart, you know, and they're getting some altitude
They go up there and train.
and some altitude plus a little cooler, drier weather and stuff. But you just got to kind of suck it up, you know, and just deal with it. I mean, it's get up early, try to get it in before it gets too hot temperature wise, but also the morning's also the highest humidity time of the day too. So you're just going to sweat. I mean, we joke. You know, the saying is, you know, you can stop running, but you can't stop sweating because it's half hour after you're done running, you're still dripping, you know.
So those that are, and we got about a minute left, those that are in Colorado, obviously there's some advantages to training in that. But then when they have to acclimate back here, is that a long process?
Not a long process. It probably it depends on the kid. You know, some kids it's like that. Some kids we got one of our girls I was talking to her just on the phone yesterday. She's in Santa Monica, California for most of the summer, and she's loving it. She's like, but she's dreading. I'm going to get back. I'm going to suffer for a week or so.
Yeah, it's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Go somewhere and get off the plane when you come back. You know.
You know immediately.
You know immediately. Uh-oh, I'm home.
Yeah. Happy 4th of July, friends. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Appreciate
I appreciate the track fans out there this year. They supported us, and next year will be one of our biggest schedules ever.
Okay. Well,
so, including 4 major championships here. So, it'll be a great time for cross country and track and field next year.
Thank you both.
Yeah.
When we come back, Billy Liucci in studio next on TexAgs Radio.
Yeah.
All right, expecting Billy Liucci in studio here momentarily. We might reach out to him on the phone here in a moment. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. That's where we find Callie Garner. Callie, hello.
Hello. We have a text, and I think it's regarding to an interview that you did with Jace Lavalette yesterday. But it says, Jace sounds like the next Von Miller when it comes to loving A&M.
He does. I talked to him for a little bit, and I know that Billy spoke to him as well, and you can check that out at texags.com here in studio. Actually, that was a little bit longer, in-depth interview. I believe Allie helped out with that interview. It was really good stuff from what I've been told. I haven't heard it yet, but he gets it. You know, certain people who just get it, Jace gets it. And here's the other thing. He's also genuine. When you hear him speak, earlier I asked Will Johnson, who's still in the lobby hanging out, I asked him, I was like, does Jace realize he's a superstar? And he does, but he doesn't act like it, and I think that's the cool part. Like, he knows how good he can be and how good he is and where he's going, right? But he also hasn't lost sight of what is important, and you should have seen him yesterday with the kids. All the kids were coming asking for autographs. It was great. It made for a really cool my interview. If you haven't seen it on the site, you'll see him signing away and kids bringing their hats and their balls. It was great to see. Callie?
Yeah, we have another text from Tayag and Taylor, and it says, regarding John's comment on the FSU-UT check swing with all the terrible officiating in the College World Series, basically asking when is it time that we're going to get professionals at that level at the College World Series other than people who just use it as their part-time job?
You know, it's interesting. I watched a soccer match. I think many people did, and the refereeing was horrendous. The NBA finals and playoffs, there was a lot of bad refereeing. I just think there's a lot of bad refereeing out there. You know, the SEC has fallen under that criticism for a long, long time. And look, we saw a bunch of it, and I don't think it's going to get better anytime soon. I have some friends that work in the refereeing industry, if you will, who are refs at different, you know, baseball and umpires, and NBA refs, or almost NBA refs, I should say. They're on the G League circuit, and they work at their craft. There's no doubt about it, but there is a shortage of it. Callie?
Yeah, we have another text, and it just says, I'm excited and optimistic about the Michael Earley hire and the staff he will put together, along with the players he will convince to stay, and the players he will recruit from outside of high school and the portal. And I think I'm excited too. I think there's a lot to be excited about with just the commit we got yesterday, and then the people announcing. I think there's questions around Caden Sorrell and kind of what his decision is.
We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's one that I know that people were worried about initially. I hope he stays. Obviously, we all hope he stays. When you think about what Jace, Gavin, and Caden can do in this, this upcoming year, next season, I should say. I mean, that is. But he's going to have to figure out what he wants to do. Unfortunately, there's no guarantees in this game, but I do think we can keep watching for Twitter and for Bronny alerts to see who ends up staying here. I do want to kind of touch on something about Coach Earley, because the louder ones are the A&M fans, right? But you do hear the chirping from those who aren't buying in. I'm just trying to figure out what is there not to be happy about with this hire. And even if you're at an opposing fan base, which people are saying this is our sixth choice, that's not actually the case at all. Now, you can say that I'm spinning it, or I can say you're spinning it. But the bottom line is A&M got a guy that everybody wanted, and that's why he was hired. And if you heard Trev Albers yesterday speak about it, how the interview process went, how he was blown away, you would have heard the same thing. Let's go to the hotline. Billy Liucci is here with us on TexAgs. Billy, good morning. Billy?
Good morning, David.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. Coming to see you in a minute.
Okay.
There used to be a day and time when it sounded worse it sounded really terrible when we'd call in. And people like my friend the senator would just get so mad that I wouldn't be on time, and they just don't understand, what it is we do. And, Gabe, who was a 99 out of 100 on radio, that 1% was he kind of panicked if he got thrown off schedule. And people like the senator would get really upset. Like, he one time asked me, why can't you just be on time? Wait, why can't you be on time? And I said, well, Senator, you know, do I know every time you're late at your job? Do I know the flaws and the missteps that you have? Because if you'd like to tell me all of them, I'll start getting on your ass about it too. So the senator is now quiet. He's given in, and over time, we have really fixed the sound of this thing.
It sounds wonderful. Sounds like you're almost in the room with me, Billy.
Yeah, and I really am almost in the room with you because I'm right up the road.
Oh, good. Hey, so I was touching on yesterday's press conference, and I know that you talked a little bit about it on the boards, but just your thoughts on how Trev responded to the Schloss talk and just really the entire press conference, just how you felt coming out of it.
I thought yesterday was a really good day for A&M baseball, for the Aggie fan base, for Trev Alberts, for President Welsh, for those players. I thought that was a great event. And it was, like, look, there were a lot of emotions in the last week. I mean, we've talked about it with the players, but if you really just sit back and think about the emotions for the players, the fans, the administrators and athletics, President Welsh, Trev Alberts, that coaching search, even on the other side of it, which we don't really give a damn about, but like, just there's a whole other side of that, which is Texas and Slosh and CDC, all the enemies now. Like, that was a big week for them. Like, their emotions were not to the level that A&M fans were during the World Series, but they had the highest of highs. A&M had both, the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and then back to what we saw yesterday, which was just overflowing with positivity and excitement from, it started with Gavin and Jace and the press conference. Then you get a commitment out of the portal. Oh, by the way, 2 football commitments, which we're going to talk about all of this here shortly, but I just thought the entire event, I thought Trev and President Welsh had some great things to say. I thought Early, you got a glimpse into what Mike Earley is. Between our interview the day before and that press conference yesterday, I think you got a really good feel for Mike Earley and what he's about. And I think that was awesome.
Yeah, he's likable. He's got a plan, a vision. And at the end of the day, if people want to play for you, he knows baseball. He's been doing it his whole life, right? Like, this is what and he's elite at it. Look at the offense we've seen here. And if people want to play for you, and as Jay said, run through a brick wall for you, then I think, hey, we got our guy.
This is a motivated. That would be the word I would look for more than any. As you think about the motivation that Mike Earley is feeling right now, that his players are feeling right now after coming up just short, what they want to prove for their coach, what Trev Alberts wants to see, what Trev Alberts wants to see Mike Earley accomplish, because they went on a limb and hired. Look, the reality is Texas A&M went from one of the most experienced coaches, active coaches in college baseball, with 7 World Series trips as a head coach, to, there might be another couple hires that don't have any, but a completely inexperienced head coach, like no experience as a head coach. That's the reality, but that's okay, and that's not the doomsday scenario that people outside of College Station would love to paint. It's not at all. We know that. The players know that. Trev Alberts knew it when he hired him. But the reality is, you go out on a limb when you make a hire like that. I'm going to tell you, Trev Alberts tested out that limb during the interview, and he thought about it, and it didn't take him long to go, this dude, is rooted pretty deep. He is a sturdy hire. And to make that move, though, Trev wants to see it succeed. So he's going to do everything he can to help Mike Earley. He's motivated. Michael Earley, not only to prove, to Aggie fans, his players, himself, but he's got a couple guys in General Welsh and Alberts who stuck their neck out for him. So you don't think that's extra motivation for him? Say, I'm going to prove you guys right. And so there's a ton of that going on, and it reminds me, I've said it before, in some ways this reminds me of Mike Elko and that hire. It's kind of the way the whole thing went. But it also reminds me a lot of the Detroit Lions and Dan Campbell. Everybody can talk about Dan, what a great coach he is right now and all that, but remember when the Lions hired him, and Early wasn't talking about biting off kneecaps at the presser and things like that. But what I'm saying is he had never been a head coach. He was an interim for like 10 or 12 games one year. Like 7 different teams passed on him. And he is so loyal and so determined to prove that family up in the ownership of the Detroit Lions. I guess it's still the Ford family. Correct me if I'm wrong or don't. But just his desire to prove them right for stepping out on a limb for him, to prove them right for believing in him, that's an added motivation that you just can't quantify. And I could give you, I just did like 8, 9, 10 different levels of motivation that you just can't really quantify. And it goes from players to Early and his staff to, the president and athletic director. And you'll see it in the fan base too, starting next February when they start hitting baseballs and throwing again.
Billy, do you want to hit a break here so you can come in the studio, or do you want to continue on?
Sure.
All right, we'll hit a break here. Billy will be in studio when we come back, and we'll get to a couple more baseball thoughts before Kendall Rogers joins us, and we'll get some football thoughts as well. Right now, Schulte Roofing, I talked about them earlier, but I got to talk about them again because they're good people over there. Award-winning roofing company, not reefing, roofing company that provides industrial, commercial, residential services to Belleville, to Brenham, to Bryan, to College Station, to Conroe, to Montgomery, to Navasota, San Antonio, the Woodlands, and, of course, the surrounding counties. Schulte Roofing is the home of the Bulletproof Roof Guarantee. That is the industry's absolute best roofing system, roof installation, warranty, and 100% satisfaction guarantee or your money back. Since their humble beginnings in 1994, they've been committed to excellence. That's why they've grown into a top 100 company, and they are the very best at what they do in the area and all around. That's why they're one of the top 100. You can call them up directly at 1-800-4ROOF. That number again, 1-800-4ROOF, or go to SchulteRoofing.com. That is SchulteRoofing.com. And we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. What are you mad about?
I just want time to eat and enjoy my fruit that I cut up this morning.
You do a pretty good job with the fruit that you do. I'll give you that.
We got blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, and bananas.
Antioxidants.
Yeah, I like them. Yeah. I'm a big blueberry guy.
I'm team blueberry. I go to the meetings. I love it. One last thing about baseball.
Is anyone today, you're going to walk around town, people are going to think you're a pro boxer?
I hope,
that's the hope.
That is the hope. But you realize that I know I'll get my ASS kicked. I know that.
You got plenty of people you can take, I'm sure.
I mean, in this office, yes. Well, plenty.
There's certain areas I'd say it's setting a really low bar, and one of them's in here.
Yeah. Well, no, I fake it. So I wanted to finish up with some baseball thoughts because the roster's coming together already, right? And there's still some questions out there. We don't know what's going to happen with Caden Sorrell. We don't know what's going to happen with Caden Kent, pitchers, that if they're going to be able to come back or not. But I feel like it's trending exactly the way we drew it up.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Caden Sorrell's a big part of it, and so that's a big deal. And there's a lot of schools pushing for both those guys. I know LSU's pushing hard for at least Sorrell, if not both. I think Oak State's pushing hard for Caden Kent. There's plenty of others. I don't know why I'm even saying specific names here in terms of who's making runs at them, but I think Sorrell, they're both really big deals. Like Caden Kent, if he comes back, I'm just looking at the roster and I'm going, there's your shortstop.
Yeah.
But these things are all interesting because you want Caden Kent. And by the way, it's like based on actions and what we've gathered, I mean, Early and company are all in on like Caden Kent, let's go. Like, and that wasn't, I didn't feel like when you looked at how the playing rotation went last year, that certainly wasn't the case with Slosh. It just, actions speak louder. Meanwhile, now you've got a new head coach and like one of the top tier priorities is getting Caden Kent back in the fold. So I think things have changed a lot, not just because of his postseason run, but because the hitting coach is now the head coach. The head coach is no longer the head coach. The hitting coach is now the decision maker, not just for who's in his lineup, but who's in the field. And I don't think had Slosh stayed, I don't think Caden Kent. A, I think he would have left without question, and B, I don't think there would have been an opportunity for him at shortstop. And I think this staff looks at him and goes, yeah, there's your shortstop. So it's interesting because, oh, by the way, you also have to have one. So you're kind of in this thing of how long does this go before you begin the process of finding a shortstop. And so you're in this you're doing this dance right now, but it would be great to see him come back. I mean, the way he finished and just what he could mean, I think, to Aggie lore with that moment he had in that postseason he had in that particular postseason, the greatest postseason A&M's ever had, and then to come back and finish his career as like one of the key cogs, right in the middle of all the action at shortstop and continue to improve as a hitter. Like, I think that would be a terrific storyline. Yeah. And he's beloved by the fans. He really is. So, and then Sorrell, we know what a great player he is. I mean, it goes without saying. Him in the outfield, like as a defensive guy out there, he's ridiculously good. And then at the plate, he's one of those guys, man. I felt like every postseason series I was picking him to be kind of the wild card, the X factor, because he was just he's so good. He's such a good hitter. He's I think he's a future. I say this, a lot of people that know more than me think he's a future high round draft pick. And man, it's just as important as Gavin and Jace.
Yeah.
I mean, he's that good. So those, and then like you said, the pitching, but they're also crushing it right now in the portal. I think yesterday was the first domino that was going to drop, and it was a big one. It was a big one when you go and get Cash out of Texas Tech, Gavin Cash. I mean, well, I guess we're showing Jace right here. There's Cash, and we'll go back to like the importance of Jace and Gavin, but what has he got? Cash like 40 home runs
in 2 years.
The last 2 years at Tech, and look at that. Look at those numbers. I mean, just even last year, 315 and 50 RBIs, but like 926 OPS, but 40 bombs in 2 years, and you could very easily be thinking in your head that you're adding a guy that's going to hit 20 plus home runs this year to a lineup that's already. You're adding him. You're adding Bergoven. You're also, by the way, still another one up there on that level. Is you've got a guy that was coming here from Penn that passed up the draft, Wyatt Hensler, who you're in a battle for right now as well. And I know people freaked out because stuff came off his social media, but you're still in a fight. You're very much in the mix. So, man, if you were to get all three of those guys or two of those three, like this from a lineup perspective, this thing is freaking rolling.
And then add a pitcher?
Well, they're going to add pitchers, and it's just a matter of they're going to add multiple pitchers, in my opinion. I don't see any world in which they don't.
Starting as
and then, I think absolutely.
Good.
I mean, first off would be Lampkin and Sadeo, have those and feel great about that, and then wait and see what happens with Prager. I mean, we know he's going to get drafted high. It's just a matter of he's going to have a number, and does MLB get to that number, and then. Because he could benefit from coming back. He's a guy that could benefit from coming back. So those things are the pitching will be kind of what comes together, I think, afterwards. But I have heard a couple names and some big name guys out there, like not big names to us, but when you see where they're rated in terms of the portal and what they did last year, you go, oh, wow, okay. Now you can see the staff coming together.
So last week I made a comment, and I still stand by that comment, that like Schloss gave us put A&M in the driver's seat of what we think this program can be, football-wise, baseball-wise. Jimbo was an elite recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, the results weren't there on the field.
Mm-hmm.
What we're seeing Elko do, there were questions about his recruiting. There were questions, right? And he's doing everything right, man. Everything. Like this, we're recruiting at that same level.
I told you why I didn't question it.
Mm-hmm.
I told you my things. Like when you are extremely organized and forward-thinking, and you cover every base, and you're willing to leave no stone unturned in terms of, and with that organization comes preparation. You can see things happening, and leave those names up for a minute. And then on top of that, you are willing to put the work in, okay? You're willing to put the work in, and then you're backed by real NIL. Like, now I think it's to where it should be, which is top 5 NIL. And then you look up here and you look at these names, right? They're from all over the country. They are 5-star, high 4-star guys, but they are also guys that are guys that aren't rated as high, but that this coaching staff either early on or as the numbers grow have been like, yeah, we're still taking him because he fits our system.
Right.
He's a dude that can play. You're not star chasing, it doesn't look like at all, but yet you are getting those guys also that everyone in the country wants. And there needs to be, I've always thought, there needs to be a blend at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is, I feel like, at its best in all sports when there's a blend. You look at Buzz Williams and his basketball team, and you can say, well, he doesn't recruit star player, but Wade Taylor is now a star.
Yep.
Q by the end of it was a star in the SEC. I think Boots Radford was a total stud, but you also get, Andy Garcia was not a star. Now he's the best rebounder in the league. You look at guys like, well, Boots, I kind of said in that one realm, but he really is also just an absolute grinder. He's got a mix. You look at this baseball team. Yeah, yesterday was massive to get Jason and Gavin back. But you look at some of those other guys that are coming back on this baseball team that were just like really vital cogs to this thing, and not the guys that everyone freaks out about in terms of that they're going to be a top 5 MLB pick. Jace, Braden, Gavin, there were tons of other guys on this team that, 2 of their best players were transfers from Penn and Columbia. And, look, they both hit over 330.
Yeah.
I mean, Hayden will sit here and make it seem like he's just the vibe guy with the fun walkout song. The dude hit over 330
in the SEC.
In the SEC for a whole year. Not just the SEC, but all the way through Omaha, and is collecting several hits in Omaha. And he'll sit. But that's what I think A&M football at times has gotten there. He is 335, 8 home runs, 63 RBIs. That is what I feel like A&M football at times has gotten away from, are the Hayden shots. And, and like the Caden Kents, a guy that he was a high-profile recruit. He's a name, but he had to grind his way into getting his chance, and then when he did, he took full advantage of it. Like, there's just – and to have that kind of culture and work ethic and people get mad. I don't care. Like, by the way, like, you complain about it, shut your asses up if you think I'm not hard enough on a coach that's left or what. I've been perfectly fair, and I think I've been not that I have to. I felt like it's warranted to be pretty damn critical of it, and I don't like the way it went down. I don't like the way he left. I've said as much, but if I'm not yelling enough for you, I'm not being venomous enough for you, that's your problem. That's not mine. I've been pretty pointed with what I've said. That hasn't been easy to do. I told him ahead of time this is not going to be fun, and I think he gets that part of it, not the craziness.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not the craziness, guys. Like, but the reality is, like, he and Mike Earley and Nolan Cain, and look. There were plenty of people around here that behind the scenes threw Nate Yeske under the bus when he left, and Max Wiener came in and was like the savior and the super. Like, Nate Yeske left, and what people forget is there are people that said some not so nice things about him too. So when you go to Austin and the normal stuff, I'm not talking about the crazy stuff. I'm talking about the criticism.
Sure.
I don't like the way you did it, and you're with the enemy now. I'm not rooting for you. I hope you lose. Like that kind of stuff. I mean, those guys watch Nate Yeske catch a lot of that, and it just that part goes with the territory. When you leave, when you get fired, what also goes with territory is everyone just bashes you that way too. So it's kind of like, but what they did do is they built a culture, and they built a championship-winning culture. That's why I love the part about Mike Earley being the head coach. And there's plenty of other things I love about it, but there was and now can still be a true championship culture that all those guys played a part in. And if you look at Jason, you hear him yesterday, and you hear Hayden the day before, and you listen to Mike Earley, and you listen to Prager and any of these players that have come in here, like there is a championship foundation laid, and if things go right in the portal, and I think regardless they're going to have a really good like top 10 roster, but if things go right, like you're going to look at the season and people are going to be going, they should go back to Omaha. Things go really right, that's like a top 2-3 team in the country going into the next season. But it's more about Jay Slaviolette saying, we didn't accomplish a damn thing as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not going to rest until we do this. It's Mike Earley saying I'm losing sleep at night still. It's Hayden Schott saying he wants that picture up there on the wall in the building. That's championship culture. And football, ironically, because Jimbo Fisher won a championship. He won a championship. And it's funny because the most viral tweet everyone loves to do by me, from Texas is Buzz, Jimbo, and Slosh. And I would have said that again now, what I said then. I mean, you had a basketball coach with, I think, several Sweet 16, I think 3 or 4, and an Elite 8 on his resume. I think he's the best hire A&M basketball could have, and now you're seeing him turn the corner. Really should have been in the tournament the last 3 years. They were whatever away against U of H from, I think, making a real run in that thing last year. Slosh did do it in baseball. That one was right. Now, Texas took, I mean, there's a joke to be had there for the Longhorn fans, and trust me, if it was, that doesn't bother me at all, because if it was on the other side, I'd be unbearable. So be unbearable, because I'll laugh with it, I'll own it. But I was right about that one. Dude took them to within, 2 runs of a national title in 3 years, 2 trips to Omaha. And football was, turned out to be the big miss. And he just almost got it there. But ironically enough, and by almost, I mean, finished number 4 in the nation in 2020 and had the number 1 class of all time. But what happened somewhere along the way, culture and an ability to adapt both died. And that's crazy to me, because that was why I was so up on Jimbo, because he won a championship at Florida State. And it wasn't just Jameis. It was like a 5-year window there of absolute and complete dominance. And you could say, well, it's just the ACC. No, you go watch and look who they beat out of conference. Look what they won in the postseason. Like, they were a dominant force in college football. Somewhere along the way, he couldn't replicate that here. And I think on some level, when that happens, like, if you're the people here, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't say why. Yep. Why have we had so many presidents? Why have we had so many athletic directors? Why have we turned over so many coaches? And it's always their fault. Whether they fired or they leave, it's always their fault. That's why yesterday was so encouraging for me, and this week in general. You have Trev Alberts that handled, I think, there is a working relationship that can be had between regents and athletic director, where it's not really the regents calling the shot and they're letting the AD do his job, but they want to stay informed. That's fine. And then there's, I think the board is in the best place it's been in a long time, just knowing the people on it. I think you listen to President Welsh anytime you listen to him. And then yesterday I thought was a really big moment, big day for Trev Alberts. To just stand up there and you could hear a little bit in there of like, we came out just fine, thanks. And I think that's fair and fine, especially with what's, there's been comments coming out from the other side. But I thought it was a big day for them. And Mike Elko, and when we come back, I want to talk about these recruits. What he's doing in terms of recruiting and culture, I've got to believe we see those results on the field quickly. I know we're going to see them, but the more I see in what they're doing, the more I expect it quickly.
We may need to do a post-game show and let the show roll, because we have Kendall next, and we got to do that. So right now, Rollo Insurance, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio, the difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anyone in the great state of Texas, and they have 53 offices right here, but they can do it all over the place as well. They got offices in Utah, you name it. They're all over the place. Their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. I'm going to have lunch with a couple of guys a little bit later on today. You can call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to RolloInsurance.com. That's 888-44-ROLLO, RolloInsurance.com. Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy is with us. He went to the lobby. He'll be back here in a moment. But let's go to the hotline. We're joined by Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball. Kendall, good morning, buddy.
How's it going? I don't know about you, but I feel like the final game of the National Championship Series was like a month ago.
Yeah, and the conversation we had a week ago feels like 3 weeks ago where we're like, what is A&M going to do? Why would Schloss do this? And, now we got our guy, and we're all happy again.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things, with the hire of Michael Earley, I think I would have a different outlook on this if Michael Earley went out and hired some assistants that I'm like, I don't know about this. But the one thing I do like about Mike is that he's obviously very confident in his ability to be the head coach of Texas A&M. I think the first step is like saying that with conviction that you actually feel like you're ready for it. There's plenty of coaches out there who go, man, I don't know, behind the scenes, I don't know if I'm ready for this. But, he had a concise plan. I think the other thing for me that's really interesting is his staff. He's kind of approaching this with the Tony Vitello model where, Tony hired Frank Anderson. Mike's going out and he hired Jason Kelly, a guy who has been a head coach for a couple conference and also, by the way, was an assistant coach at Arizona State at Perennial Power and LSU. So I think had he not hired Kelly and then brought in Caleb Longley, had a really good offense at Texas last year, I think I'm seeing a slightly different tune. But the proof is going to be in the 2 or 3 years when you don't have the roster that you're going to have next year. But so far, I feel like Mike has checked a lot of boxes that, frankly, I was skeptical that he would check before they made him the head coach at Texas A&M.
Well, look, I know you're an Aggie, but you do your job as a journalist, right? So you don't take sides when you're reporting, and I appreciate that about you, and I know that about you. So I want you to kind of shed some light on this. When you hear naysayers, A&M got their sixth choice. Can you provide some context to that? Because I don't think that's how it went down. I think this guy came out of nowhere, maybe was in sixth place when it started, but he shot up the ranks. It wasn't their sixth pick.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't want to burn sources here, but I mean, here's how it kind of went down. Obviously, A&M engaged, Brian O'Connor. They engaged to some degree Lee Jarrett, although I don't think he's ever leaving. And then Tony Vitello was the guy I think they really went after. And I think Tony, from what I understand, for pondered the idea. I think the idea of getting Tony, and I think Billy would agree with me here. I mean, the idea of getting Tony seemed far-fetched, but from what I understand, he seriously considered it. So there's a thing if you're A&M, if you can't get those three guys, and, people are going to say, oh, well, A&M is not a big-time program, and they would never go to a place like that. Well, Tony has a gold mine in Tennessee. He can get whatever he wants. Ron O'Connor has a son that's a senior in high school, didn't want to move his kid. And Lee Jarrett was brought back to Florida State specifically by Mike Martin's family. He's not going to burn that bridge. So it's just, timing is everything in coaching searches. If a year from now and Brian O'Connor's kid is out of high school and playing college baseball somewhere, it's probably a different story. But that's where A&M was. And I think once A&M got past those guys, okay, they're like, okay, let's look at Skip Johnson. Let's look at Tom Walter. Let's potentially look at Dan Hefner. And, oh, by the way, Michael Earley wants to interview for this job. So essentially what happened is Early went the job. I'm sure Trev Alberts, my guess is he probably, I wouldn't say have low expectations, but my guess is he probably did not think Mike would have that detailed of a plan. Well, what happened is, from my understanding, that Mike went in there, in terms of grading out an interview, was like an A+, almost a perfect score, had a plan, had a lot of confidence, laid out an entire vision for what he wanted to do with the program. So if you're A&M and you can't get the top three guys because of other circumstances, are you hiring the guy who's going to keep a roster together and, oh, by the way, see you later in the interview, or are you going down the list and hiring other guys? And you can argue all day long till you're blue in the face what direction they should have gone here, but especially in the short term, I think they probably made the right decision. Again, we'll find out in 2 or 3 years if it's the right decision long term, but I have no reason at this point to just, why would I assume, he's not going to do very well? Look at the guys who have been 36, 37 when they were first the head coach, Brian O'Connor, Tony Vitello. The list just kind of goes on. Jay Johnson, by the way, was at one time a top assistant at San Diego. Somebody took a chance on him as a head coach. He ended up winning a national championship at LSU. So I think any broad statement that it's a terrible hire, or even, frankly, it's a A+ hire. I think to be determined, right? We'll see how it goes. So far, again, I'm checking some boxes for Michael Earley, at least in the short term.
Kendall, every coach, right? Like it could be a big name like Jimbo. It could be a name you've never heard of.
Yeah.
All that matters is the results. What we say 2 days after a press conference, you can look at the positives, you can look at the negatives. But if he wins with this roster, it was a success.
There's no doubt. I mean, A&M is a team that on paper going into next year, and they need to shore up a couple of things on the pitching front. I think they'll end up doing that in short order. I don't think they're anywhere near done in the portal from an offense. So that is going to be a roster next year that, again, this is the perfect example. Like, Michael is a really confident dude, and a lot of coaches would inherit that roster and be like, oh, man, like if I don't get to Omaha, if I don't get to the championship series, people are going to go, oh, well, Jim would have done it. I don't think he thinks that way. I think he knows that he's going to do that. So I think the beauty of this whole situation for him is like he inherits a roster that is a top 2 or 3 team in college baseball next year. And that's just such a unique position to be in as a first-year head coach.
Kendall, what about some of the outstanding pieces that we need to figure out? Obviously, there's pitchers, there's a catcher situation. There's some names that need to come back, potentially may not come back. There's names that we don't even know that could end up at A&M. Just kind of give us some of your thoughts on all that.
Yeah, I mean, catcher is going to be the interesting position. Obviously, you have Calfer in the transfer portal. Jackson Appel, I think they would like to get him back. Obviously, I don't think he's coming back switching catcher. He's really good behind the plate, really steady demeanor. I think he's going to get drafted relatively high. I know the USC catcher was Galloway's in the portal. He's obviously a really talented guy. I would keep an eye on him. And then, the other thing from A&M standpoint is you now have some options because you got Ava Arquette and Cam Clayton in the portal. So, if Caden Kent decides he doesn't want to come back, those are 2 more options in the portal. I think Arquette hit, I want to say around 330 with 12 bombs and like 40, 50 RBIs last year for Washington. So had a really good year in a cold weather climate. So A&M is going to have a lot of options. And from what I understand, the NIL part of A&M's system has been ramped up significantly. Not only was it getting ramped up significantly before Jim left, but I was told when Jim left that they were just going to go all out, and it certainly sounds behind the scenes like they're doing that.
Just out of curiosity, how are they recruiting there at Texas?
Well, I mean, they have flipped a few A&M high school guys. Obviously, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but I want to say a couple, 2 or 3 of them are pitchers, so they're guys that are following Max Wiener over there. I think one kid's a position player, but I mean, it turns a head-to-head in the portal right now. I think you're kind of 0-0, right? I mean, I guess you could count Jason those guys. But I mean, I actually felt like Jason, Gavin were more likely to, and Sorrell. I don't know if Sorrell's announced yet today what he's doing, but I thought those 3 guys would have more of a chance to go to LSU or Tennessee than Texas. So, we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. But I have no doubt that Texas will get its players. I mean, those guys are, you can argue all day long about how things unfolded. Those guys are really good coaches to get theirs, but I think baseball more than any other sport, I think Texas and A&M can both be really, really good in the college baseball landscape.
Kendall, Billy just walked in the studio. I've asked you about the current feeling, but I know one of the things he wanted to talk about was timeline of events. Did you can you kind of go through the timeline of the last 7 to 10 days?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, I kind of first just felt a little odd about the whole situation. Probably, I don't know, I would say around the regional, there's just some weird stuff that people were reaching out to me about. And I was kind of like, I didn't think anything of it because, I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm being very honest with everybody, like, I did not think Jim, here's the thing. I'm not saying Jim is scared or anything like this. But the fact of the matter is when he left TCU, like, he didn't even want to play TCU in Arlington. So the fact that he didn't want to do that, when the Texas stuff started unfolding, I'm kind of like, man, given like the circumstances in the past, like I just don't know if I see him going from Texas A&M to Texas, because not only you're going to have to face your players the next couple of years, but everything else that kind of comes with it. And so that really kind of started around. And then in Omaha, Billy knows as well as anybody, there was some, odd things being talked about. And then his statement, honestly, at the press conference was like kind of the clincher for me, because I remember talking to some people on the way out of the press conference room. They're like, man, like the first first statement he made seemed like he was coming back, and it was like he realized he was saying he was coming back. So he like just put his car in reverse and hit the accelerator and went in reverse. And so that right there was really illuminating to me. And of course, we all kind of know what happened over the last 24 hours once A&M got back. So at the end of the day, I have zero doubt that this thing had to be in the works. There's no way you're making that transition as fast as you are. There's no way you're announcing your staff 24 hours later if that's not something you put together, at least in Jim's head. I'm not saying everybody else is complicit. But that's not something that you're putting in your own head that quickly on a whim without kind of planning it out. So I read the tea leaves on that. But at the end of the day, you know, I've talked to sources. I've talked to, I'll admit it, like I've talked to Jim. I think there are people around the situation who would like, if they could go back in time, would like to handle things differently. But the fact of the matter is, whether it's fair or not to Schloss or anybody else, the perception from A&M fans for the rest of his coaching career will be that you took our team to the College World Series, and before you could even get, basically, right after you got off the bus, you left and went to Austin. And that's something you can't take back. That's unfortunate because he did an incredible job at A&M. And I think if Jim waits, 3 or 4 days and just comes out and says, you know what, hey, listen, A&M's awesome. A&M's amazing. But I want to coach for my best friend. I don't feel like Trev and I see eye to eye. Where I'm not saying that's what I think. I'm saying if he came on and said, I think a lot of Aggies would go, man, I can't believe we're doing this. But it would not be what it is today.
Got to jump in there, Kendall. Thank you so much for your great work, brother. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great 4th of July.
You got it, y'all be good.
See ya. Kendall Rogers. We'll be back with like a 20-second segment. It's TexAgs Radio.
This is The Zone.
Hello. There we are. Time to end the day with Double Dave's caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We're going to hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave, serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and your favorite pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. So this is what I'm going to suggest you do. Keep it on the YouTube channel because Billy and I are going to talk for about 5-7 minutes. Then catch up with Louie immediately after. Or stay with Louie and check us out later. Either way. But we're going to keep the dialogue going because I know Billy wanted to talk about the newest commits to the program. So we'll have that. And, however else this conversation goes with 4th of July. Hope everyone has a safe one. Thank you so much for watching or listening on the Zone. We'll see you mañana or Monday, and we'll keep it going here on YouTube. So if I can continue to talk to myself in this awkward form, Nick, why don't you join me for a second as we wait for Billy to get back here in studio?
Okay, buddy.
Hey, buddy, what do you want to talk about until Billy gets here?
What do you want to talk about? Well, he's right there. I see him.
Hey, there he is.
Right in front of the camera.
Hey, there he is.
It's all right. We're off air, so production value gone.
We're on YouTube. What do you need?
List or anything?
It's on there.
I like having a list in there.
There's a list in there. There's a slight list. Right here. So page 2. Marco Jones, Noah McHale.
I got it.
Okay.
I mean, I wanted like the whole commitment list.
Oh, we can put it up there?
Yeah, get them to put it up there. I want to talk about what they're doing right here.
Let's talk about.
We have been, and for obvious reasons, we have been baseball distracted the last couple of weeks. But Howell, more than anyone, has done a terrific job of keeping us going on the recruiting front, and Brawny, who's been pulling double duty. But Jason coming here doing the camps. Mike Elko has been busy following Aggie baseball. And when I say following, I mean he's into it. Yep. He was into the coaching search. He is into like what's happening in the portal, who's coming back. Like he is a huge as far as football coaches go, I don't think I've seen a bigger fan of another sport at A&M as Mike Elko is to Aggie baseball. And a lot of that comes from, when he was here last time, he's with his son, Mikey, who was a prospect, ended up signing with Northwestern, went to Richmond, coached by Brawny. So there's always been just that baseball interest. And then, with what's happened these last 3 seasons, he's like all the way in. But he's also all the way in on recruiting. And like I said, I think people that questioned it just weren't. I thought they were off base, but it wasn't worth arguing about because you couldn't win the argument.
Right.
It's like arguing with Longhorns right now to tell you that, Mike Earley isn't the hire. You can't win the argument. You just have to know what you know and believe what you believe and know what he means to this place at this point in time with these players, with this team and his hunger and all those things. And what he learned from people like Slosh and Nolan Cain, what he learned at Arizona State, what he learned as a player, you say, I feel good about it. Mm-hmm. You feel good that Trev Alberts doesn't make that hire if it doesn't, in his mind, check the boxes. You got to feel – I felt good about Mike Elko, the recruiter. You couldn't win that argument because there's just nothing – I thought there was, like how he recruited here the first time, what they were doing at Duke, because you have to understand it's Duke. You don't look at the stars.
Right.
No, it's Duke, and they've elevated their recruiting significantly. So when he's gotten here, with what you arm him and his staff with the staff he put together, and like I said, the organization, the plan, and that's recruiting, that's roster management, and that's portal. The amount of personnel he's sunk into that, people that understand their roles, and that really, and we alluded to it, I think, a lot down the stretch, that really deteriorated under Jimbo. Once Marshall Malco left, you went a long time without even having a recruiting coordinator, which is just a wild statement to say that Texas A&M football, if anyone would have asked you for a period of months, who's their director of recruiting, you couldn't answer. The answer was no one. Essentially, and then they hired Meshack, who, look, just I'm as nice as I could say. Like it was a big job for him. It was too big a job for him at that time. That's not his fault. That's just they missed on some guys, and that's where they landed. And then that one didn't work out, so they let him go. And I think there was another period of time. I think that was it. Am I wrong, or was it this fall they went through a long stretch? I think they went through the whole football season with. I could fact check because so much has happened in the last couple of months. Like I think they went through all fall without a specific director of recruiting, and so that is just mind-blowingly insane to think of. But and then you come in here with Mike Elko, and it's the exact opposite. The infrastructure, the if you looked at their org chart, the divvying up of responsibility, the organization of it all, it's night and day different, and that stuff pays off. But you still have to close on players. You still have to have confidence in your evaluation. And I guess if they'll tell you one thing, they'll say you also still have to be able to recruit California because they're kicking ass in that state right now to a level that people that have no ties to A&M on the national scale are starting to go, damn, what's Texas A&M doing out in California? Right. And they're killing it. And really, if you think about it, UCLA doesn't have much going at all. Even USC and a lot of these schools are now going into the Big Ten, which is still not nearly as attractive as the SEC. And they've got some ties out there to recruit. And I think they see, like, there's some terrific players out west. There always have been. And you see them kind of spotting through the SEC over the years. USC notwithstanding, they still recruit at an elite level. But the competition for elite players looking left on a map is a lot less formidable than looking right.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can win in this league without recruiting the SEC footprint and without doing a terrific job in Texas, which they're doing right now. But I also think there are some guys out west that are kind of there for the taking if you're committed to it. And damn if A&M doesn't look committed to it right now.
Anything else you want to close out with, Billy?
I wanted to close out with a lot. I didn't even mention a name yet.
Okay, let's do it.
What are we on a time limit?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think you got quiet, so I don't know if you want me to ask you a question.
I know you've got lunch to go to. I heard you earlier this morning.
At noon, I got time.
Oh, perfect. Well, let me sip this coffee and we can get going.
How's that coffee?
Cold as hell.
Oh.
All right.
I prefer a mug, but I use a Yeti.
Okay.
I don't think you care about that statement at all.
I didn't. It's not that I didn't care.
I don't think if you had anything to say about it.
I prefer a mug too.
But it gets cold, especially in the studio. Anywho, let's go through some names.
It's ice cold. It's nasty. Both my coffees were ruined this morning. Names. Look, California alone, Marco Jones, who was yesterday, Noah McHale, who was, what was that, Sunday? Or Monday. Adonis Curry, the corner, who's big time, and believe that's, and then and the big one, the 5-star QB who's on Longstreet. So that's for like the top 10, 11 players in the state of California, which is wild. It's just insane. But I guess we'll start with just this week. What they've been, there's a few things, and I know you guys, I guess, have gone through it, or have you?
I have the names here of this week if you want those.
Yeah, the names this week, there's, 3 of them, so I guess let's start with yesterday, and Marco Jones, 2-sport star that, Mike Earley has been recruiting him for a while for baseball. They have a great relationship, and when I found that out, it was about the same time, you realize that, A&M's going to get him. Edge guy, I mean, he can play standing up, projects kind of on the edge. A big old dude. Like, for a baseball player, he's really big. And he's been described to me as like a Giancarlo Stanton, like, hits absolute bombs. And, it always depends on, like, what their forward motion is in football, how quickly, it's always up to the kid. But I do think Mike Elko, we talked about baseball and his love of it. I think he'll be as amenable to a guy playing 2 sports as any football coach we've had here at A&M. Mm-hmm. I think he'll be all about that in terms of Marco on the diamond. But on the football field, this dude he's a load. Like, I don't know what they list him at. I think he's got to be north of 250. And he, like I said, he can play standing up. He can play off the edge. And I think in Mike Elko's defense, you could see this guy almost turning into he reminds me a little bit of Nick Scorton, like at Bryan High, when you were trying to figure out that back then, where do you put him? With Marco, I think they know exactly where to put him, and he fits in Elko's defense as an edge guy, which is what Scorton is now. And I think they'll be actually similar-sized guys, with Marco maybe being a little bit taller already. He's already taller, but this is a coup. This is a guy that could have a very early impact on the field because physically he's pretty advanced, like in terms of his physique and stature. He's pretty advanced. I have an interesting text I got from an NFL scout, and they're probably listening, so I like giving them shout-outs. This is what they said over their scouting A&M guys, and anonymous scout says, "Holy Nick Scorton, top 15 lock."
Wow.
Says I can't get over this avatar from Bryan, Texas. Because he's Cam Jordan, is what the scout said. So, I mean, just to get you any more excited about Nick Scorton than you already were. So you've got that.
Follow up right after.
But Marco, they say 6'5", 230. I think I said 250. I bet he's north 240.
And when he gets
you're
in
looking
this
at a
weight
guy
room,
that's in the legit like 6'4 plus 240 range. So I'm saying he's already bigger than Nick, and you see him making plays standing up on his feet. Like I just see him as a similar guy in this defense. It's going to wreak havoc on the perimeter there. He's going to be really, really hard to block, and good luck doing it with a tight end.
The other name that was this week, Chase Sims from Richmond. Talk a little bit about what you've heard about him.
That one was really interesting. I mean, they offered him a while back, right? And I don't know. I mean, I know Randall's new. Like, I don't know how many prospects. I don't know if I remember a guy from Randall High School in Richmond. So when I thought about Richmond, I was thinking like my hometown.
Right.
Like this
is new
Sugarland, Richmond. So this was the first guy to play at this level or commit at this level. But Sims is a guy they offered a while back, and then he blew up. And I believe it was it TCU and LSU were hot and heavy on him, and so were the Aggies. But his stock it really exploded during the spring eval period. And, man, here's what he is. He's already a 300-pound interior defender with – you saw just even that picture of him in his stance, David.
Yeah.
And you can see it on tape. He's got like tremendous length for being a 6'2", 300-pound guy. Really, really long arms. Just he can reach out and get to these linemen before they get to him. And then you watch him here, and like that first step and that quickness he's got is super, super impressive. And that's not going anywhere. And he's going to get bigger. And you're probably talking about a 6'2", 320-pound guy easy with, like I said, excellent reach and excellent quickness, and you see an athlete out there. I could see why, like a program like TCU wanted him. I could certainly see why LSU did, because I'm starting to really like what they're doing in the defensive trenches. And again, Marco Jones will be outside there on the edge, probably really versatile piece on the defense that can play standing up on the line of scrimmage wherever you want him. But between Sims and Rink, those are some havoc-wreaking dudes when you watch their tape. And let's not lose sight of the fact of how freaking good I think Rink is. So you have those two guys, and then if they go get they go get a DJ Sanders out of Belleville, who I think is just a menace on the football field. Let Mike Elko and let Sean Spencer, let them go out there and have those guys to play around with. They're gonna remain dominant on the defensive line.
Yep.
And what I like about both those guys and Sanders, if you watch their tape, they're big dudes that play like they're small in terms of how quick they are, but really just how aggressive they are and the motors they have. Because a lot of times these guys of that size at the high school level can coast a lot. And you kind of have to see it. And you have to see it in flashes. And you have to go, okay, it's in there. I got to motivate him. When you get these interior bigs that play like these guys do, that, man, if they're already motivated, that's when you have guys that are really, really disruptors. I thought McKinley Jackson was like that type of guy coming out of high school, you know, and then you saw it translate. So dudes that just I've known some great ones that coast, and you watch about 5 plays a game, you go, okay, there it is.
Right.
And they're worth recruiting because if you can get that out of
that
them,
one play, yeah.
Bobby Brown was one like that. You know, there it is. That was incredible. And you take him, and Bobby's had a really nice career because he's figured it out. A lot of them don't. You know, Ty Warren had some of that. He was so good. Ty's on a whole nother level than really anyone we're talking about. But because of that, he could just kind of not let you get past, throw you down when he wanted to, make a tackle. But Ty did that and was able to overcome it. But a lot of guys don't. And these guys, their motor goes. That's what I really like.
We talked, I think, for a second on the air, but we'll close it out with Noah McHale.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about Noah.
But one of the things that I am liking is that they're, after a couple years where it felt like, where are the linebackers coming? They're coming.
Yeah, no question. I talked the other day about young linebackers on the roster in Samford, and then you went out in the portal, and you said, we got to get a starting caliber guy, and they went and found one that played for Pat Narduzzi and was really good out of Pitt. They're addressing it. You went and got Scooby Williams, who also might, you know, there's potential just for this year of high-quality starters and depth, you know, and obviously Torian York's still young. But you look at what they're doing in recruiting now with Jones, who's, you know, outside linebacker type, Noah McHale, and, man, I love Kelvin Riggins, who, am I wrong, or is he the first commit? He was the first or second commit in the class. But that dude, like, you watch his tape, he hits like a sledgehammer and can fly. So, look, Jay Bateman knows what he's doing in recruiting linebackers, and so does Mike Elko. But you look at like what Bateman, the guys he'd put on the field at Florida, even when they weren't, you know, winning games at a high level, go look at the linebackers that were playing there for them. They're good. They're NFL type guys. So, and Florida's had a history of that. I don't. It might not be done. I don't think they'll get Riley Pettijohn. They have made a move though, of late. I don't know if Howell was talking to you guys about it. But they've certainly made a move.
He feels better today than he did before.
Yeah, but I still don't think A&M's my pick.
Right.
But, damn, if they could do that, you're talking about as good a class as anyone's going to sign. And then people are already talking about their secondary class. We mentioned, you know, Curry, Kobe Sellers, Jamal Bill Goins from out of state, and then Dejon Petaway from over there at Pato. So, man, their DB haul is outstanding right now. Outstanding. I think it's the strength of the class. Linebackers nipping on its heels. And then I think, but when it's all said and done, if they could add at least one of these like 5-star type O-linemen that they're in on, and they're in a dogfight for a couple of them, if they could add one of those to cap that off, that O-line class will look sensational too. But the addition yesterday of Sims, and if they could add a DJ Sanders, you're starting to see it happen on the D-line as well. This is going to be a really, really well-rounded class. I think the only thing, you know, I still want to see them, you know, well, Lincoln Cure going to K-State. That was a huge coup for Kansas State. So you're still looking for you're going to try to get the tight end. You know, there's the kid out of the Houston area who we really, really like, who is, you know, people on the inside thinks trending Texas. I have learned not to write off A&M in any of these battles for Houston kids, so I'm not there yet with it. But tight end, and then I think, you know, the big one will be receiver. And time will tell at that position, you know, in this class. But I doubt they're just going to sit there. And, you know, there's going to be a move made. We got to see when it is. But right now the receiving, the tight ends and the receivers are kind of what you want to see them start hitting on, and they will. But I mean, what they've got right now, I think, is a really well-rounded, and it's a top 5 class, Nuño. They have surged into the top 5, and you look around. I always like to look at I don't need to see the per star average because it just kind of, I mean, it says the same thing. You just look around and say, okay, are they up there just because they have way more commitments than everybody or not? And I guess you could just look at the per star average, but I'm just looking at the teams around A&M up there, and a couple teams right in front of them have more commits. One of them, like around them, you know, like you look at the few ahead of them, the few behind them, they're all about the same. Yep. And in a lot of instances, teams have a couple more commits. I think A&M's at, 18 right now? And some of these teams are at like 20. I think Notre Dame's right in front of them at 20.
Yeah.
And then somebody like Georgia maybe is like 17. Like it's all relative is what I'm saying. It doesn't have to do with numbers. It has to do with the quality of players A&M's got committed. This is a really strong recruiting class for Mike Elko's first full cycle.
Happy 4th of July, buddy.
You too, buddy.
All right. Thanks
for
watching. Everybody have a great 4th. See you next time.